than the steroid era, and I played in the steroid era.
Another Rich Eisen show is coming at you right now.
Y'all ready for this?
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
Jay Billis, what are your thoughts here, Jay?
You know, we're seeing schools all over the country now canceling their classes and telling their students don't come back from spring break.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com.
And it's a public health issue. 75,000 people come in and watch us. That's going to look a little odd.
Stay away from large crowds. It's really that simple.
This is the Rich Eisen Show. Today's guests: Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck, CBS Sports NFL insider Jason Canfora, from AMC's Better Call Saul, actor Patrick Fabian, and now it's Rich Eisen.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. We are live in Los Angeles, California. Good to see you, Brockman, over there. How are you,
buddy.
sir?
How's it going, man?
Del Tufo is off doing, I guess, the televising of the Big East tournament, or he's part of that broadcast. And I proffer to say, if we are all healthy and hale, which we plan to be on Friday's show, Mike Del Tufo will be back at his seat.
I think you might be right.
Look, folks, we do this show here. We started it 5+ years ago for a reason. It's a show about life. It's a show about sports, and it's a show about how sports is part of the pop culture world. So we have a very large pop culture contingent here on this show. I totally get how I'm talking on a sports talk radio station for most of you right now, and over those 5 years, we heard from occasion from some of our station managers, and some of the station managers love it, and we love those. You know, why are you talking entertainment? Why are you talking pop culture? Why aren't you arguing about cover twos and stuff like that? And I understand how that sort of stuff is sometimes fun, and it's sometimes a diversion, and diversions are great. We need them more than ever. And in terms of pop culture, we are going to have an hour number 3, take a break from this whole world. Better Call Saul is one of my favorite television shows. I know it's one of yours as well.
Yes, indeed.
Patrick Fabian, who's a diehard Steelers fan, is going to be coming in here in the studio, and we'll take a break from this whole crazy world we're living in right now. And we will talk some sports here today, too. I mean, the NFL, the business of the NFL in terms of free agency appears to be one of the few things that's not stopping. And that business can be handled over the phone,
Can. That's true.
But the NFL is beginning to chime in since it's one of it's the major professional sports league that isn't either playing its games now or is on the verge of starting its games in its playing season. And the NFL is beginning to chime in on the front that the realization that these are times in which we've never lived, most of us have never lived, have reached our shores here in the United States of America. It has hit our planet collectively. Look, I went to. I always want to be a sportscaster, and I know I might be getting a little deep here, but who cares? I'm speaking my heart. I've always wanted to be a sportscaster. I've always wanted to do this job. I grew up loving Marv Albert and Howard Cosell, and want to call football games as much as I possibly can for NFL Network. That's why I flew to London twice last year and went to Tampa to try and not mix up Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson's name a remarkable amount of times.
You did a great job.
Thank you, sir. I went to University of Michigan, wrote for the newspaper, and then went to Northwestern Graduate School to try and get a job like the one that I had on ESPN for all those years, and try and get a job like the one that I've had with NFL Network since 2003, try to get a job that would lead to doing a show like this. Nothing can prepare you for being the host of a show during something like this. And the something like this is coming on the air the day after a major American sports league decides to suspend its season because there is a pandemic flu going around this globe without a vaccine or known cure coming down the pike for months, if not maybe a year. That's the reality. And the whole concept of let's play games in front of no fans, which as of yesterday I was advocating for the NCAA to do. I was advocating that as of 2 days ago when the Ivy League decided to cancel its tournaments for the men's and women's basketball programs in their conference. It was a shock 48 hours ago. Shock for a lot of people to just say the regular season champ is the ultimate champ to go into the NCAA tournament, which yesterday announced that there would be no fans for its games for the first couple rounds. And I thought that's not a bad idea at all. And then last night, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz is diagnosed, tests positive for the coronavirus. And as soon as that happened, I realized the concept of playing in front of no fans is not a proper concept at all. Because there's teammates out there, and there are referees out there, and there are NBA officials out there who need to put the games on, and there are members of security out there, and there are ticket takers for whatever small amount of people that would, I guess, get the tickets. In the case of the ACC tournament that I'm imagining is still going on right now, Chris? In front of no fans?
They are there in front of no fans as of right now.
That each school got 150 tickets for, I guess, family and friends. Rudy Gobert has coronavirus. That means everybody on the Jazz needs to be quarantined. Everybody that the Jazz played in the last 14 days needs to be quarantined. Anybody that refereed a Jazz game needs to be quarantined. Anybody that was nearby the Jazz bench needs to be quarantined. Fans, too. And they were in 4 different cities in the United States. The Washington Wizards announced today they're quarantining themselves. Donovan Mitchell, a half an hour ago, was diagnosed with the coronavirus himself. And Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN is saying that Gobert, I guess, was having just as much fun within the locker room as he was with the media, where he was talking about this a couple days ago, and he touched the microphone and the table and everything when he ran out, which at the time people were like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Not so funny now.
Not so funny.
In the same way that the Ivy League canceled their tournaments 2 days ago, not so out of the realm.
Seemed like an overreaction at the time.
Not an overreaction.
Does not appear that way.
The Big Ten and the SEC, 2 major conferences, along with the American Conference, canceled their tournaments.
Big 12 as well.
Big 12 canceled their tournaments. It's only a matter of time till the NCAA cancels March Madness for the men and women. And I know that that is a bummer in places like Dayton. And it is a bummer for Dayton. And a bummer for San Diego State and Creighton and all the teams that might have put together a Cinderella season and hope to still. But this is serious, people. This is happening. It's only a matter of time till the NFL cancels their owners' meeting. Only a matter of time, in my estimation, that the NFL decides to hold the draft in Las Vegas another year down the road. Only a matter of time. Only a matter of time till Major League Baseball decides to push the opening day somewhere down the road. Maybe play half a season. My nephew Jack, he's been hoping to play his senior year of baseball forever. He's been working for this moment forever. How many kids are going to be like my nephew Jack, that their final high school baseball senior season before they go to college canceled? It's a bummer. It stinks. You know what else stinks? A pandemic flu that gets worse because we don't do what we need to do as a society. And I am up to here of people that can't grasp what is happening. I'm not here to sow panic. I am not here to do that. I am here to just talk facts. I am not here for clicks. I could care less about clicks. One of us here in the studio contracts this virus, guess what happens? We're off the air for 2 weeks. Poof. So I'm not here for clicks. I'm here for rational conversation. I'm here for rallying around each other. And I'm here for getting tests in the hands of people who can test people fast, so we could figure out what the hell is going on and who does need to stay home and who doesn't. Who needs to just keep on washing hands and being safe, sneezing into their elbows, and going about our business. Going about our business and trying to live life in a manner that is reasonable without panic. But we just don't know what we don't know, and we're not in this country, for those watching on YouTube. I have no idea where the hell to get tested right now. Do you? Does anybody? Apparently, according to Woj, the most outrageous thing in my mind, because Rudy Gobert was just having fun a day ago, 2 days ago, I proffer to say he wouldn't be touching everybody's stuff anymore. The most outrageous thing in my mind is apparently it took a considerable amount for the Utah Jazz to find and get a test for Rudy Gobert. What the hell is going on? I'm serious. What the hell is going on? Because if we are all up to speed on knowing about this and knowing how we can handle it, knowing if it comes, how to handle it, knowing if it comes for a loved one. I'm deadly serious about this, folks. And I want to hear about partisanship, because I don't know who Rudy Gobert or Donovan Mitchell votes for. They've both got the virus. And I just felt, watching the Oklahoma City fans file out of the arena last night as the game got canceled, I thought,
yeah,
those people might have it too? Is it possible? I don't know. I read up on it. I'm thinking it's likely they don't. But this whole business that it affects only older people and people who have bad immune systems. How old is Donovan Mitchell? Is he even old enough to vote? Yeah. Is he old enough to drink? Barely.
Maybe not rent a car.
Bill Russell tweeted out about the NBA canceling or postponing its season, suspending its season. He says this is a great move by the NBA. It's of major consequence and concern for people of my generation. Yeah, it is.
Donovan Mitchell, 23.
23 years old. Now, he might not need hospitalization. He might be able to get through this whole thing, but he now needs to sit out for 2 weeks, at least.
At least.
I've said my piece on that. You can call, you can tweet, you can do whatever you wish. I love to chat with you all. 844-204-RICH. At Rich Eisen Show is the Twitter account.
Big East is playing. They just tipped off.
You could stream us, watch us live, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. I don't know what the Big East is doing.
The ACC,
I don't know what the
Florida
ACC
State in warm-ups,
doing.
Florida State left the court, so nobody really knows what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's
right
time. It's time. It stinks. It's awful. It's dreadful. But every passing day, something is happening that makes it seem like we've never seen this before, and we don't know what's coming. And until we can try and figure out, outside of looking at the worst case scenarios and being fearful of them, being smart and vigilant, wash your hands. I just tweeted out on my personal Twitter account an article about washing hands with soap and water destroys COVID-19. Destroys it. Annihilates it is what was in the title. Wash your hands, sneeze into your elbow, make sure anybody who comes into your house does the same. Make sure anybody you come across does the same. And go about your business best you can. Avoid large crowds. The Redskins just said they're not sending any of their scouts on the road.
Giants as well.
The Giants are all. It's just that's the way it's going to be.
Brett Sergalis of the New York Post covers the NHL said that sources indicate Gary Bettman has been in touch with all teams, and they have been told the NHL season will be suspended.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Call today at 1 o'clock.
We will all, MLS too, we will all, let's just say this. We will all survive this. You know, Susie said to me the other day, how in the hell did this country survive smallpox, right?
Polio.
Right?
All of it.
Yeah, there was a significant, I'm sure, disruption in life when smallpox was going around. Right? But we're all still here. Civilization is not going to be brought to its knees by this. But we have to be smart. And in this country, in the United States, we have to wake up and get through this. So next year's baseball seasons and football seasons and basketball seasons won't go through this. And our country as a country will have better readiness for something like this when it comes down the pike next time. But together, we have to remain calm and try and get as much information. Let's get informed. And our government's got to help with that. And, as I said at the beginning of the week, the problem with this awful situation and the issue with helping fix this situation only causes us to distance ourselves more as people, to look at each other and wonder, do you have it or not? Who have you come across? Where have you been? In a world where we're already polarized enough, where we're already separated enough, and normally the sports world helps bring us together, and now that sports world is distancing itself as well. And hopefully, when we get through all of this, and by getting through all of this, we will still stay together and have empathy and sympathy and love as much as we can conjure it up while we're trying to take care of our own. That we watch what's going on and we never take for granted again how pissed off we can get about a bad call or a bad decision or a fourth quarter that doesn't go our way. And we never again take for granted the way that we can go down a wormhole. As a fan, positive or negative. But for the moment, let's get everything stopped. Even though, again, shows like this one, what will we talk about? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Just like we'll all figure it out how to do without these sporting events. Baseball went on strike. We lost an entire year. Okay? The World Series went down the tubes. Baseball survived. This year, if we don't have a March Madness champion, this year, if we don't have an NBA champion or a Stanley Cup being raised, if the Champions League stops, if the EPL stops, if everything stops and we don't have a champion, we will always remember the time where we weren't prepared as a globe for something like this, and we'll be better prepared for the next one, and we will love the return of these sports more than ever.
Well said. ACC Pac-12 canceled their tournaments. Jeff Passan saying, feeling among executives that MLB will be suspending spring training.
Yeah, spring training. How about, maybe we'll see you after the All-Star game. I mean, everybody who's an expert on this is talking about, we're talking about 6 months at least.
Yes, months.
Phone lines are lit. Howard Beck's first up. Will walk us through what the NBA came up with last night, how it came to that realization. Is it true the Knicks were the only team that said we need to wait for government heads up to say don't do this or do it? Come on. Jason La Canfora of CBS Sports and what the NFL might be thinking. And, of course, free agency is not going to stop. It's coming. I don't know why they would stop that. The owners' meeting, we can teleconference that one. Patrick Fabian of Better Call Saul, and we'll just take a break from this crazy world and Talk a little bit of sports and some pop culture with him. That's in hour number 3. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial here on the Rich Eisen Show. The Honda HR-V is sitting at your local Honda dealer. I'm telling you, folks, I mean, I know people who are flying around still, and if you do that, great. I hope you just, like I said, stay vigilant. You want to get behind the wheel of a car and go on a road trip with your family.
It's a good idea.
Go somewhere out in the outdoors, have a good time, best you can. The HR-V is a perfect opportunity to do something like that. The second 60-40 split second row gives you more room for your adventures. Some for you need more reconfigure for your car or for cargo or for people, passengers. And it's a top safety pick for 2020 from IIHS. That's the HR-V. And there's multiple cargo modes, available heated front seats, and a touch-based automatic climate control system. Available with Honda sensing, again, to keep you safe behind the wheel. Hurry into your Honda dealer to check out the 2020 Honda HR-V today. We will take your phone calls. I want to take Howard Beck's first. That's how we're rolling here on this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. All right, we're live on our YouTube feed, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. I have not checked our chat box. I don't, this is with YouTube a new audience for us. So welcome to our show. This is not usually the thing that we're talking about.
No.
But who talks about this stuff normally, right? I mean, honestly,
we've never seen anything like this.
You can't prepare it's something like this.
No, definitely not. I went to the store last night just to get just basics.
How's Sarah?
She's good. Her mom is
just landing now.
Is on a flight. She's going to be here about an hour. So, we'll see. Yeah, everybody's good right now, but we're kind of suspending visitors at the house.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like you gotta tighten the rotation.
Tighten the rotation. Yeah. Family members only.
But again, I don't want to every doctor, many of the doctor friends that we have,
yes.
you've seen some doctors recently.
2 days ago.
They're all like, just wash your hands.
Yep.
Be vigilant.
Yep.
Chill out.
They seem a lot more calm than kind of.
Well, again, they probably know the math in their head, and they know that sort of thing. But they also probably know that this thing can get out of control. And again, because I see how other countries are doing a lot more testing than what we're doing, or a lot more testing being readily available. I mean, I read a story in the New York Times that, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson tested positive. They're in Australia because Tom is doing a new Elvis Presley movie down there. Yep. Actually, I think Colin told me about that a few weeks ago. I think he plays Colonel Tom Parker in that film.
No way.
And I think he's putting on some LBs. The amount of time that he's put on weight and lost weight. But at any rate, he put out, here's his Instagram post that he also tweeted out. He always has these.
But they have free testing in Australia readily available,
correct.
Which is what. And he said he wasn't feeling well, so he just, as a precaution, went and got tested positive.
Right. And I'm seeing there are some places in our country where there's beginning to be some drive-through testing, but you still need a note from your doctor.
Right.
So I'm not feeling well. I think I've got coronavirus. So let me go to my doctor's office, right? Really?
Yeah.
Or no, let me reach for the phone and then have the doctor send me a note. I print it out. That'll take some time while I'm wondering if I have it or not.
Yeah.
Or you just go to your drive-through and get it. Again, I don't know. It sounds simple. The Senate is going on recess. I just saw that. Oh my gosh.
What is has your kids' schools said anything?
Yeah, they've tapped out.
Okay.
A couple days early. The spring break's coming.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, and we're staying put, seeing how this is playing out.
Yeah, I got to see what my sister says. Maine, I know, is one of the few states that has not had a case yet.
They've had a case. They just haven't tested
Well, it just
for
hasn't,
it.
right.
I mean, everybody's got
a confirmed case.
Everybody has to have a case. I mean, it knows no borders. It knows no party affiliation. It just knows humans. And it is nasty. And most of us can get through it. There will be many of us who won't. And some will, but not after a harrowing experience. That's why I'm thrilled. Sports leading the way. Again. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. We're back with Howard Beck in a second. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Adam Schefter and Tom Pelissero of ESPN and my NFL media group just tweeting out that the NFL says it has no plans to move the start of the league year. And again, the NFL has told everybody to start telecommuting starting tomorrow. I imagine the business of the NFL and free agency can all be done via FaceTime and phones, right? I mean, the face-to-face visit. Now we know how Tom Brady's free agent tour is going to go. It'll be over the phone.
No visits, FaceTime.
So that one,
agents are telling draft prospects to cancel visits and
pro days are done.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a second. Jason Lockenfor in hour number 2. And your phone calls at 844-204-RICH. If you are on hold, please stay on hold. We will get to them, no doubt about it. But from Bleacher Report, senior NBA writer Howard Beck. How are you, Howard?
Rich, I'm doing all right. You?
I'm good. Family's good. Everybody's good. I got to be honest with you. Tensions are palpable here in Los Angeles. And I know they are in New York City. I've got a lot of friends there as well. But let's get to the business of what happened last night. What was it? Just they were thinking about doing X, Y, and Z, and then Gobert pops for coronavirus, and then there were no more options on the table except one. Is that how it worked?
Yeah. The decision was made for them, Rich. I mean, and I don't want to be overly critical here because this is really, really it's not just a very difficult situation, but there's no map for any of this. There's no blueprint. The NBA seemed to be all over the map in recent days. Are they going to play games with no fans? Are they going to bow to local edicts from city officials? In San Francisco, when it became an outright ban, like, no, this is the law now. We are ordering no gatherings, and the Warriors had no choice. Okay, we're going to play with no fans. Meanwhile, the Washington Wizards had only local D.C. officials saying, we don't want public gatherings, but they didn't make it the law, so the Wizards said, oh, well, then we'll keep playing with fans. So the NBA was all over the map, and the league did not come up with a cohesive universal policy for all 30 teams. And so in lieu of that, they were having to let teams just kind of make their own decisions based on local situations and whether or not local government was making it advice versus directive. And so while they're considering all these options and what should we do next, and can we get all our 30 teams on the same page, and clearly by the reporting that's out there, they were not all on the same page. And then this happens. Rudy Gobert happens, a positive test happens, and now the decision is made for you. Because as I'm sure you've explained to your listeners, it's really simple. Rudy Gobert being positive for the virus means you have to quarantine the entire Jazz team, and then you have to see who they played recently, and then who those teams played recently, and the referee crews. And referees crews change night to night. So somebody exposed to Rudy Gobert one night, that referee a couple nights later is working with a different crew, and now he's possibly exposing that crew. So the cascading effect means that you don't have a choice. At that point, you have to shut down the league and wait this thing out.
So I heard Mark Cuban say that he was planning on paying his employees that make an hourly rate. Are all NBA teams going to do what Cuban's doing? Because that is obviously after the I guess depression of the situation that the NBA has got to suspend its season. That's the first thing I thought of is like, what about all the people who depend on living and making their rent based on these home games that aren't going to be played now.
I would hope other team owners would follow Mark Cuban's lead. I would hope that the league, in fact, itself would try to rally everyone toward a policy like that, and that they would take care of everybody who relies on this league for their livelihoods. I've not seen or heard of any other teams volunteering that yet. Doesn't mean that they're not doing it. It's still really early, and you can add that to the list of about 1,000 questions that need to be answered, hopefully sometime soon. The Board of Governors is meeting via conference call shortly here, maybe even as we speak.
Right.
And I'm hoping that in the wake of that, we'll get more information from the NBA about its thought process, about it, what things may come next, and maybe even about things like, yes, how are you going to take care of all these employees of teams and arenas?
Now, I would ask you the next question. Well, anyway, and I know the answer that nobody knows. Nobody knows, right? I mean, this is just basically going to take it week by week, or the way that we're looking at these standings is the way that this is going to wind up. Is it possible that if everything is somehow mitigated, because this can't be completely contained until there's a vaccine? Is it possible that the start of next year is delayed and this year gets finished after a few months hiatus? I mean, what's the concept that's being discussed right now?
This idea that the NBA would, resume whenever, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, whenever it is, and reschedule all the lost games, play a complete 82-game season, start the playoffs, go in through the summer. I think of all the things I've heard seems the least likely to me, because now you're pushing back the draft, free agency, pushing back or wiping out Summer League. You're probably eliminating the possibility of NBA players playing in Tokyo, if there even is an Olympics in Tokyo. And more than any of that, or at least as important, if the season doesn't end, if the finals don't end until sometime in August, I'm not sure the players' union is going to go for that when you got to turn around and have guys then report again a month later. That does not make much sense to me. The thing that makes the most sense to me and to people I was texting with last night around the league, and granted, none of these people are in a position to make the policy decision, and it will be made above their pay grade. But I was checking in with just smart people I know around the league. Like, what seems like the most likely scenario here? And everyone's kind of guessing. But the most likely and sensible scenario seems to be you shut down for however many weeks this is going to be, 2, 3, even 4 weeks. You wipe out what's left of the regular season schedule. You freeze the standings where they were last night. You play the playoffs based on those standings, and you pick up with a month from now when the playoffs would normally be starting anyway, and then you're not having to rebook arena nights or reshuffle or do anything else, and you're not playing into the summer. You're staying on your normal calendar, and everything else is intact. That seems to me to be the cleanest way to do it, but it's easy for me to say I'm not the one who's giving up 20-25% of the season revenues by wiping out the rest of those games.
Howard Beck of Bleacher Report here on the Rich Eisen Show, and then just the whole idea of disruption and money in the pockets of obviously the economy of the game outside of, again, the people who depend on the wages to make ends meet, and hopefully they are made whole by ownership and management of the NBA. It really just does pale in comparison to public health issues. So
yes.
What is your reporting on how it was discovered that Gobert might have had coronavirus, since he apparently was not terribly symptomatic? What happened last night based on what you could tell, Howard?
I wish I had that information, Rich. I wish I had more to tell you on that. I honestly don't know. Information on that right now is pretty scant, pretty hard to come by, and probably for good reason. Look, there are already people around the league who I've been in contact with who are really upset about the fact that Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell's names have even been put out there at all as being tested positive, because they consider this a medical privacy matter, and people are sensitive about that, and I understand that. And so, given that, I think there's a lot that has still been insulated from us. And maybe properly so. What right do we have to know about the players and how they contracted it, or when, or whatever? I mean, certainly everybody they've come in contact with would want to know that, but we as the public, knowing it in the very public way that we do know it, it's created some backlash, and there are people around the league who are concerned for players' medical privacy rights right now. But I don't have any insight into how exactly this unfolded. It all happened so quickly last night. This stuff is all still very fresh.
I will say this again, because I like having conversations with you, Howard, and my guests also, as opposed to just asking questions and hearing an answer. I can totally understand why people would say that their privacies have been breached. That said, the fact that their names are associated with this virus, I think, can have some greater, if this means anything to them, public good, that it has shaken people awake, that people of their physical prowess and age contracted this virus. And yes, they are more likely than not to just have a flu, but they, in the NBA, are all over the map, literally. And it's very important for us to know who has it and how, if we can, find out they got it, because it can be so helpful to everybody to understand this and calm some nerves and tension. Certainly if in 2 weeks from now we find out Gobert's feeling great, right? And Donovan Mitchell's feeling great. And we know that they didn't push it around. You know what I'm saying? Out of everything, though, that I saw, like the fact that Woj is tweeting out that Jazz players are privately saying that Gobert was careless in the locker room. Now that one's like, okay, that one got out. Now that one was what raised kind of a little flag and my eyebrows to go up there, Howard.
Yeah. And listen, Rich, I'm with you. Like, broadly speaking, I think that there is a great case to be made for more information than less, maximum transparency, and these guys are public figures. And, I'm not saying that means there's a public right to know, but we do have a tradition in this country of, if you're a public figure, you give up some of your privacy. And in a case like this, I do think that is the price you pay, and I don't think it's a very large price in this case. And I don't think no one's going to be treating these guys like pariahs or lepers,
right? Which is
how somebody framed it to me who was concerned about this. And I said, well, I don't see that. This is a virus like any other, except that right now it's a very deadly one and a rapidly spreading one. But everybody understands this is a temporary thing. Like, no one's going to look at Donovan Mitchell 6 months from now or Rudy Gobert 6 months from now and say, "Oh, you're the guy who had the coronavirus." This is not some scarlet letter. So I think maybe people are being a little hypersensitive on it. But again, I get it. These are people who are advocates for the players. But I think that it's better to know than not, especially if you were a fan who high-fived Donovan Mitchell courtside a couple nights ago, or maybe attended some community event with him. Now oh, wait a minute, I came in contact with him, because the team can't possibly reach out to every single person or know who every single person is who might have come into contact with those players. And so if you do name them publicly, again, the league isn't doing that, reporters are doing that, but there is a public good that can come from that on a variety of levels.
Last one for you. Woj saying also that the Knicks were the one team that wanted to keep the status quo until a governmental public mandate dictated change. What do you think? What do you think of that one, Howard?
I think it reminds me of something said once by the late Commissioner David Stern, who back during a different time said of the Knicks that they are, quote, not a model of intelligent management. And that was specific to something else. That was specific to a sexual harassment lawsuit that they refused to settle. But that statement has echoed through the years, because we can apply it again and again and again to how the Knicks operate. And this is just one of those things where, like, the second you saw that report, you thought, yeah, I can see it. That's exactly what I expect the Knicks to do.
Although,
and again, I don't even want to say the Knicks. It's James Dolan.
Yeah, I know. That's it, and that's the problem. That's why the statement that came out from the Knicks that broadsided Spike Lee, he just hid behind the name and the logo. He didn't put his name on it, and it's just, I find it fascinating, ironic, and of course, as you put it, on brand, that he would say, totally. I need to know about a public mandate before shutting down Madison Square Garden to protect Knicks fans and New York City writ large. Certainly, since many of them take the train to come to the game. But he won't acknowledge the clear public mandate for him to sell the damn team. I find that fascinating. Howard.
No, he's not one to listen to other people.
It just depends on it depends on what the public mandate is about, I guess. Look, I appreciate the time, Howard. I appreciate the conversation, and I know I just hope you and everyone you know is hale, hearty, and well. And next time we speak, I find nothing different. So thanks for the call.
Same to you, my friend. Good talking to you. My best to you and Susie.
Thank you, brother. That's Howard Beck of Bleacher Report, at Howard Beck on Twitter. A conversation brought to you by Capital One, which is reimagined banking by offering savings and checking accounts with no fees or minimums and one of the nation's best savings rates. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Approval required. Capital One, NA member, FDIC. One last thing before we go to break. The reason why I was so disturbed to hear that the Jazz, apparently it was a to-do. It wasn't a simple thing for them to get a kit to test Rudy Gobert. But they did. They did. And while it's helpful to know that somebody young and healthy can contract this virus, it's very important, certainly since people out there saying it only affects older people or people with compromised immune systems. Nope. That's helpful to know, at least, I think, because the more knowledge, the more power we as people have in avoiding panic and concern and overrunning stores for toilet paper. And that's helpful. But what adds to the issue here is Rudy Gobert can get tested. Donovan Mitchell can get tested. What about me? What about you? How fast can you get that test? You don't have a team doctor that can just write off a note. You don't have that. And right now, I proffer anybody in the sound of my voice right now does not know. Most of you do not know how to get tested, where you can get tested, when you can get tested. Nobody that I know knows that. And I know a lot of people. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial here on the Rich Eisen Show. We're back with your phone calls before Jason La Canfora joins us here on the program to talk about what's going on in the NFL world. That's next. Still to come. All right. Don, do we have any videos teed up or no? You don't? Okay, not today. Or not this hour. Okay.
You need a pee break?
Huh?
You need a...
a tap out?
You need a tap break?
I don't know.
TJ's got those cards, gotta go.
Say it again?
The gotta go card.
Gotta go. So you have seen the curb?
I finally saw it, yeah.
Gotta go.
When the newsstand gets ransacked because John Hamm leaves his post to go have dinner with Cheryl. Oh my God, that was funny.
That was great. All right, phone lines are lighting up right now. Let's have a little bit of fun. This is when Eric Braeden, one of the most famous soap opera actors, diehard sports fan, came in studio and we had a little fun with him. Eric Braeden here on the Rich Eisen Show. We have printed out 3 of the great sports rants of all time, and we would love for you to do your best Victor Newman. Is that okay?
No, the first one is Herm Edwards.
Yes, Herm Edwards. The first one up, Herm Edwards on October 30th, 2002, after a Week 8 loss to the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh.
Here is play to win the game as told by Victor Newman.
This is great about sports. This is what's the greatest thing about sports, is you play to win. Hello? You play to win the damn game, right? You don't play just to play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
And October 16th, 2006, after the Cardinals blew a 20-point lead against the Bears on Monday Night Football.
Oh, man.
Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were, as portrayed by Victor Newman.
Bears are who we thought they were, That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the damn hook.
Very good. Very well done. All right, last one for
I
you.
can feel it. I can feel it.
I'm glad that we got it rolling, because here's the last one.
I can feel it. Oh.
On May 7th, 2002, the famed practice press conference of one Allen Iverson, as recounted by the man who plays Victor Newman, Eric Braden.
I mean, listen, man. We're talking about practice, okay? Not a game. Not a game. Not a game, all right? We're talking about practice. I mean, how silly is that? I know it's important. Yeah, I do. I honestly do. But we're talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice. We're talking about practice, man.
Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Let's take some phone calls. That line through. You there, Brad? Start again, Brad.
Yes.
Go for it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're on the air. What's up?
I thought I would just tell you how quickly your life can change.
Okay.
I was lectured yesterday morning out at court about how this is just a huge overreaction of canceling everything, and it's ridiculous. And then I go to the game last night, and I'm late to the game.
The Thunder game?
So, the Thunder game.
Okay.
And I walk in, and the lady goes, the game's postponed. And I said, why is it postponed? She said, I don't know. Normally, I would go to the bar, but instead I went to my usher and said, what's up? And he goes, game's postponed. And I said, what does that mean? What is up? And we're friends. We play golf together, and we waited until everyone cleared away. And he goes, I hear a Utah big is sick back there. So I immediately turned around and left. immediately before they hadn't called the game yet. Well, I get home and we're watching all the coverage, and it dawns on me that the Thunder, the staff, the ticket takers, the ushers, they all have a pregame meal together. The Thunder provides that for their employees. So they're all together. And some of those people were with the Jazz.
Bingo.
Which means the guy I walked up to, and I'm a 6-foot white guy, and he's a 6'6" black guy, so we can only get so close. But he basically whispered to me about the Utah Big. So now here's the real life. Yesterday we had no cases in Oklahoma City. Now I can't go to my law office.
Well, here's the thing, Brad, is that it is real life, and the reason why the games shouldn't happen is for an abundance of caution and taking part in a smart strategy of social distancing. It is entirely possible that your friend, who was at that meal and was with the Jazz, did not come into contact or washed his hands. And whatever coronavirus that might have been on his hands, if obviously it can be on clothes, it can be on so much. It is mostly airborne from what I've been reading up on through droplets that mostly comes in the air when people sneeze or cough. So it's entirely possible you were not exposed to it. And all you need to do is just stay vigilant, stay calm, and wash your hands, but not going to the office and not going to games, while a terrible inconvenience, is out of an abundance of caution that will hopefully flatten the curve, make sure that cases don't spike. They're actually drawn out so the health community can actually handle what's coming their way. And all of us together, by being smart and hopefully getting tests from the federal government in the hands of people that can make sure that you, sir, Brad, instead of calling into the Rich Eisen show, are online to get tested. And you feel fine, and okay, don't have it, but I'm going to stay vigilant. And you go about your day. And maybe the markets don't tank.
I have no choice.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the way that we can get out of this thing. And that's the thing that's particularly, and thank you for the call. Thank you for sharing with all that. I hope you are well. That's the thing that's freaking me out. We're not getting tested. I don't know where to get tested. I don't know. Do you?
Right. People are posting this graphic about how South Korea is handling everything. They have universal testing over there. We don't.
I mean, that's how, and again, Tom Hanks put his name out there and his wife's name out there as a face for this being contracted worldwide. It had happened for him in Australia, but they have much easier testing rules and much easier access to testing. They plan for it. Instead, what we're doing is I don't know what the hell we're doing. Senate's going on recess. Honestly, we need to get testing out there to people fast. Not only so we can make sure that we flatten the curve. Again, the curve I'm referring to is, look at any of these charts, any of the countries that have had problems, like Italy's the first and foremost. Their cases spiked fast, so it overwhelmed emergency rooms. Don't want that to happen here. Flatten the curve. Make sure people who are healthy stay vigilant. Those who are not, stay home. The way that is by testing everybody. That's the way it works. And we'll all be much calmer. We'll all be just more chill. Hey, do I have it? I don't know. I'm going to go drive to that drive-through testing. I don't know. I'm going to go get tested because I know where to go. People don't. So people are freaking. Hour 2, more of your phone calls, 844-204-RICH. Jason La Canfora and you. Okay, a little bit more fun here. Trying to have a little bit of a laugh as well. The great Adam Carolla on this show, and one of his more brilliant ideas was how to fix instant replay in the National Football League, and meld
more relevant
and
than
meld it in some way with Pulp Fiction. Check it out.
When there's a conundrum on the field and it needs to be replayed, and Adam Carolla, you came up with an idea that there is a GIMP in the stadium, correct?
The idea dawned on me when I was watching all the replay stuff, and it was clear to us that he got his hands and he made a football move.
Yes.
But we see the thing where he catches the ball, he starts to turn, he takes one step, he gets blown up by the safety, the ball goes squirting out, your team recovers, you're going nuts, then they go back and they go, not enough to overturn what we already called.
Correct.
My feeling is I don't like that factor. That taints it. I want a fresh set of GIMP eyeballs on this thing.
And so it's fresh because the GIMP has been in a box or in a trunk?
The deal with the GIMP is he doesn't know the team. He doesn't know the players. He doesn't know what city he's in. He doesn't know the date. He doesn't know who's president. He doesn't know anything. He's a GIMP. He comes out, first thing, he's blinded by the sun. He's not seen the light of the sun in weeks now. And it's this, and he's blinded, and he's disoriented, and we run him. He has a handler, you know. They run him out. They're flogging him. You know, he has his leash, but they're also using it to beat him as they're bringing him out. Of course, between the sunlight and being flogged, and they push him under the thing, and he just makes a declaration. He doesn't know what two teams are playing. He's not in a fantasy league. He has nothing riding on this at all. It's like, did he catch it? Did he do it? Once he does it, now, obviously, if it goes against the home team, that's when they double down on the beatings of the guy, and they run him back into his pen.
What we're gonna do right here is go back into time.
Yesterday on The Rich Eisen Show.
Dan Plesac, MLB Network here on the Rich Eisen Show. I've said over and over again, if I was a pitcher, I'd rather face somebody with a trapezoid head be standing there than the person who knows what pitch is coming.
I think it's going to be a very difficult year for the Houston Astros. These guys, they're walking around with a giant target on their back. Guys around the league, I've never seen a group of players more angry at this than the steroid era, and I played in the steroid era.
Another Rich Eisen show is coming at you right now.
Y'all ready for this?
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
Jay Billis, what are your thoughts here, Jay?
You know, we're seeing schools all over the country now canceling their classes and telling their students don't come back from spring break.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com.
And it's a public health issue. 75,000 people come in and watch us. That's going to look a little odd.
Stay away from large crowds. It's really that simple.
This is the Rich Eisen Show. Earlier on the show, Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck. Coming up, CBS Sports NFL insider Jason Canfora. From AMC's Better Call Saul, actor Patrick Fabian. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Hour number 2 of the Rich Eisen Show on the air. We had Howard Beck on to talk about what the NBA did last night. And a fan of our show called in to say he was a fan at the game last night and started the day thinking that this was an overreaction, canceling games and making sure that maybe fans were not at games, and then left the game last night that he went to the Thunder Jazz game in Oklahoma City saying, this is pretty darn important. And he also said he was scared. I think, and he didn't say the word scared, but I think I heard it in his voice. I understand these are frightening times, but if we all hang together and we get information and we get tested, I think we can all get through this. And even if we somehow, some way can't figure out how to get tests, if we all hang together and we all do the right things ourselves, because we are not getting any specific top from the very top down orders to stay away. We're not getting those, which is why, you heard from Howard Beck, the NBA was figuring out what local establishments, what state establishments were saying what about where. Can't have it in Oklahoma City, but couldn't have it in San Francisco, it being fans in a game. And state governments doing what they need to do and local governments doing what they need to do. That's how it comes down to a fact where in Oklahoma City, fans are led into a game that gets postponed because one of the players has coronavirus. And then we find out today, Rudy Gobert's teammate, Donovan Mitchell, has coronavirus. And as this fan pointed out, well, all of the staff members of Oklahoma City, thanks to the Thunder, they all sit together for a meal before the game, and some of these members of the staff were exposed to the Jazz, and now he's exposed to one of the members of the staff. And what's he supposed to think? And again, when you read up on this, it's entirely possible that the staff didn't contract coronavirus and didn't pass it on to the person who this fan talked to. Entirely possible that everybody washed their hands, didn't touch their face, sneezed into their elbows, and everybody's fine. But we don't know. And that's what's freaking everybody out, including the markets, I might add. 844-204-RICH. The Players' Championship's going on. Do they have fans at the Players' Championship? And I'm wondering if it's just different in golf because they think it's outdoors. But I imagine any time that fans are all packed together in a gallery, is the Players' Championship, do they have fans?
So the PGA Tour says events on all tours will currently proceed as scheduled, but will do so without fans.
Oh, makes sense.
CT Pan tweeted that he has left. He is not competing.
Well, I'm seeing a ton of fans right now on NBC's coverage of it right now on the featured groups portion. Looks like there's a bunch of fans there. Maybe after today? I don't know. It just makes no sense. Hey, and if you're out there and you're like, screw it. I want to go to a sporting event. I have these tickets. I don't want to give them up. Just wash your hands and stay vigilant. What else do you know out there, Chris, that's just bringing everybody up to speed here in this crazy-ass world?
So all conference basketball tournaments except the Big East canceled the rest of its tournament as well, but All major conference tournaments, including America East and the AAC, have canceled their men's and women's tournaments. The NFL says it has no plans to move the start of the league year, so it's still on for next week, Wednesday, March 18th.
That makes sense. Like, again, the players are voting remotely on this collective bargaining agreement. That vote hits Saturday. Then teams have until Monday at noon, depending again on what the vote is on Saturday, to exercise either one or two or multiple different forms of franchise tags. And then based on what the vote is on Saturday, starting on Monday at noon Eastern time, the so-called negotiating/tampering window opens up. And then Wednesday, the new league year hits. And all of that stuff could be done over the phone, through FaceTime, through whatever you want to do. So that does make sense.
So the Big East was the lone conference to actually start a game today. Creighton and St. John's.
ACC did too, didn't they? Or no,
they didn't. They did not start.
Okay.
They awarded Florida State its conference championship. Creighton and St. John's did tip, played a full half. St. John's leading 38-35, and they have canceled the game, the rest of the tournament at halftime. So there's not going to be a finish to that game or the tournament at all. The Utah Jazz played in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks last week. Used the same locker rooms that these college teams are using right now. And they have two players, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, who tested positive that we know of.
Major League Baseball's up next, man. I mean, they're thinking
NHL as well. NHL looks like they are going to suspend the rest of the season.
Right.
MLS has already done so. The ATP has suspended all men's tournaments for 6 weeks. They are going to come back on April 20th. NFL teams are shutting down training facilities and scouts, taking them off the road here for these college pro days.
And I could say I got it. I don't know if I should share. Whatever. I share everything pretty much. There was an email. The NFL has told everyone to start telecommuting tomorrow. Start telecommuting tomorrow. Is that? I mean, it just. I have to ask. Is that it? Because I mean, it's just. It's just been an avalanche of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, the sports world is essentially coming to a halt.
Everything is coming to a close.
And in the same way that the sports world can help heal, like what happened in 9/11, the sports world can help bring us all back together again to make us all feel normal again. But in order to all feel normal again, we've got to go through this. And the sports world is leading. Otherwise, what way have we as a society received a more definitive and also far-reaching message to socially distance ourselves properly and prepare ourselves properly and get ourselves on a heightened but smart state of alert here?
John Heyman,
through sports.
John Heyman saying spring training games in Florida and Arizona expected to be suspended.
Yeah, and then comes the playing season. I guess that buys a few weeks of time. But then comes the playing season.
Yeah, I think opening day is March 26th.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable that gets pushed back. Let's go to Peter in Rochester, New York. Our fan phone line brought to you by our friends at Capital One. What's up, Peter?
Hey, Rich. I was wondering, do you think the NFL draft is going to get moved from Las Vegas or played without fans? Because I've been to Las Vegas. I know where they're playing it. That's already going to be a traffic nightmare. Do you think they're just going to put it at a remote location?
It's a good question. From what I'm hearing, all options are on the table. And obviously, planning needs to be made if there is a different location. But I think that's inevitable, too. And when I say different location, I mean the commissioner in New York City in a spot where there might be a handful of players or people, and then everything else is done remotely. And I'll be sitting maybe on NFL Network's Los Angeles stage, and Trey will be sitting in Bristol or wherever ESPN wants to put him and the rest of their crew, and that's the way this year's draft goes. And Las Vegas, Nevada will just be a location down the road. I think that's the way it should be, and I personally hope that's the way it goes. To be honest with you, with all due respect to our friends in Vegas, that I'm hearing that they're shutting down there's some conversations about shutting down clubs and shutting down parts of that world as well.
MGM announced yesterday that they were shutting down the buffets at all of their resorts.
Right. I think it's inevitable that for the time being, we all need to avoid large crowds, or large crowds need to be. We need to avoid having opportunities for large crowds to gather. My 2 cents on that. But thanks for the call, Peter. Again, I honestly do not know. But again, I think it's all inevitable. And the draft is it's amazing. It's the largest event the NFL holds where most of, not all, the decision makers are not there. An NFL game, all the decision makers are there. Right? From the coaches to general managers to assistants. NFL Combine, all the decision makers are there. NFL Draft, all the decision makers are in their own home spots. They're already telecommunicating to the draft. All it just takes is, and that's the thing I love about a draft, and the thing that I talk about all the time when we have the inevitable conversation of, does social media ruin the draft? And I always say yes, and people go crazy.
Right. Because it's a TV show.
It's a TV show. It is an entertainment vehicle. People love it for a reason. It is entertaining. And now the league has done the right thing with its draft by traveling it around and showing off different parts of the passionate NFL landscape in beautiful American cities like Nashville, for instance. An amazing draft experience that was last year. But when it all comes down to it, the NFL could do a draft in the same way you do your fantasy draft. You're all different parts of the United States. You log into a computer. You point and click. Just make sure it's damn password protected, because you just don't need Sam in New York choosing for the Jets.
Yeah,
past year, Sam could do better. I don't know who Sam is. I'm just using the word Sam. I don't know where that one came from.
Sam, I am.
Let's go to Israel in Atlanta. You're here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Israel?
Hello, Rich. How you doing?
What's up?
Hey, I'll make this quick. I went to a health conference in Atlanta, and as soon as I landed in Atlanta, I got the email that, the conference got canceled. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? I got online. I went to Atlanta Hawks game. And when I got to the game, I'm like, okay, this conference got canceled because of this. And now once you get into the game, you got to take out all of your metal material and put it in a container.
Right.
And I put it in there, and I watched that same container be passed down to the next person. I mean, we're talking about thousands of people here. So I listened to the start of your show, and I got touched by, you said, America has got to wake up.
Right.
And so I'm like, what are we doing here? We have thousands of people sharing, contacting personal material, and it just opened my eyes, and I need to call in and let everybody know that we're not taking the proper methods yet. And I just want to share that with you.
Thank you, Israel. Thank you for feeling moved to share, and you make the right point. You make the right point that through these sports headlines, I think the realization has become far more crystallized, and sports leagues and sports entities are leading the way in grabbing people by the lapels to say, get vigilant. But two things: vigilant and smart. Be smart. Let's not panic. Number one. Number two, even though I am passing a metal, container on to the person, the next, and touching the next and the next and the next, wash your hands as soon as you can. But also, don't look at every other person in the world as diseased. That's another thing that's I'm very genuinely concerned, especially since you're quarantined. You're going to be separated by loved ones who can't hold your hand. That's what's so beyond heartbreaking about all of these scenes we're seeing in nursing homes. The elderly being separated from their children who want to be there for mom and dad and can't because they have to be quarantined. You can't hold somebody's hand. Just the tactile action of hugging and being affectionate and being empathetic and being sympathetic The words social distancing is the exact opposite of that. And we all have to remember, while social distancing, still remaining connected as people. I really mean that, man. It's polarizing enough in this crazy-ass world. But wash your hands and let's get testing in the hands of people who need it and in the hands of people who are wondering about it. You have another update right there? By the way, our phone line again is brought to you by Capital One, which is reimagined banking by offering savings and checking accounts with no fees or minimums. One of the nation's best savings rates. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Chris, what do you have over there?
Adam Stern, who covers motorsports for the Sports Business Journal, the next 2 weekends.
Okay, that's a good start. But again, as we've pointed out, as our fan in Oklahoma City pointed out, the people who are at these tracks on behalf of the tracks to run the races are exposed just as anybody else to the drivers and the drivers to them, just as anybody else. Just one driver, one member of a pit crew contracts coronavirus, then everybody that's at this track must be quarantined. And we have to figure out, All the drivers won't be able to go from one to the other. They live in motorhomes in the infield, right? Drivers? So put that tweet up one more time, if you don't mind, Don Bowie, our coordinating producer, about the NASCAR race, if you don't mind. So there's no fans in these spots over the next 2 weeks in Atlanta and Homestead. Somebody pops in Atlanta. Nobody's going to Homestead.
Right.
Nobody's going to Homestead.
Very true.
In the same way that Rudy Gobert popped last night, you just saw it takes one person to quarantine so many. And the Pelicans-Kings game got canceled because the official who had officiated a Jazz game was now officiating their game, and they couldn't even risk that. So when I was like, yeah, great, do it without fans, I didn't even think of these scenarios until it actually happened. And again, kudos to the NBA to just say, out. And also to Mark Cuban, to say that he will make whole all the hourly wage workers depending on the funds for the home games that are now canceled for the Mavericks. I hope all owners have the foresight and sympathy and compassion and empathy that I'm talking about to understand the economic ramifications of this in the name of public health good, which has to be done. Well done, Mark Cuban. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Jason La Canfora on what the NFL is thinking about their owners' meeting coming up in a couple weeks in Florida. We just talked about the draft, the NFL's decision to keep the new league year going as planned. I have no problem with that. We're just talking about everybody over the phone. No fans come together to celebrate the new league year. So, and I think we might all need the diversion, in the sports world, of the NFL world coming with the biggest free agency period that's about to hit in quite some time. We could all use that, right? So, especially since we'll talk some football. That's next here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, 844-204-RICH, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show to watch us live and stream us live between 12 and 3. I find that distasteful because I don't feel I'm giving up when I'm driving my Honda Odyssey. No, I don't. No. As a matter of fact, I do sometimes drive the Honda Odyssey Eastern every day. That's next. No kids in there, and have caught myself listening to like Kids Bop on the radio, and I'm like, wait a minute, the kids aren't in here. Why am I doing this?
You're like nodding your head.
I'm nodding my
down.
head. Yeah, a little bit of Bruno Mars, Kids Bop, Yeah. But the Pilot is an excellent vehicle for a family as well. You can seat up to as many as 8 in the Honda Pilot, and all the bells and whistles that can keep you from points A to B on a long road trip, okay? Long road trip. Like the 8-inch display audio touchscreen, the advanced rear entertainment system's also available. Go to your local Honda dealer. Just take a look at this Honda Pilot, and you might just want to run right out there with it. Okay, we're back here. TJ, you want to come over here? Let's see. Tell me what the bots are talking about. You don't mind?
No bots so far.
No bots. I like it.
Yeah, chat's been very active today.
Okay, very good. Why? What do you got? All right. What do you got?
Let me sit down here. How you doing today?
I'm fine.
First and foremost, someone wants you to do GPS recordings in the chat.
What do you mean?
For GPS,
Like turn right,
They want
turn
you to
left.
give the instructions on GPSs.
Nice.
They're saying your voice sounds so smooth that they want to hear it as they're driving.
But I'm a New Yorker, so my GPS would be like, "Brake now, you moron."
Yeah, somebody wants that.
What's your or my move more than GPS is when somebody does something bad, I will give the drive-by and stare.
Okay.
I don't know why it's helpful for me to just see what the person looks like facially
You
if
are
they make a terrible maneuver like
1,000%
that.
on that. I'm
why
that guy.
Why am I that person?
It's
Like
not-
I feel like
you have to see.
I don't need the information other than the fact that the person in front of me is driving like a complete moron.
Yeah,
So-
I'm the same way. If someone cuts me off, and that's happened a lot lately.
Right.
People in LA, I mean, that's a whole nother thing about driving. But I always do need to, as I'm passing them, kind of look to see who they are,
Right.
what they look like.
Right.
You know, are they wearing a clown suit for what they
I
just
give
did?
the stare, no doubt.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got the Northeast in you, the blood in you.
I'd give that stare.
Yeah, so I know you're probably
I'm just-
you're
I'm keeping
multitasking
tabs
over
on
there
what's
about
going on. I
so,
think-
but
yeah.
that's what we have been talking about.
Oh,
is
sorry.
that no?
Got
is
it.
that,
I just heard that
Well,
first.
see, he says that people in the chat box want me to like do a voice for GPS.
I'm down with that.
I'd do that, sure, but I said I'm better at the stare maneuver, and I don't know why it makes me feel better to know what these people look like when they drive like complete total
I'm
morons.
all in with you there.
Let me tell you what I don't need right now.
What do you not
I'm
need
getting
right now?
a lot of emails from Vegas casinos with hot deals for Las Vegas right now. Guess where I'm not going?
Well, even
Didn't you
if
say
there
the
was
other
no,
day you weren't going to go to Vegas?
Even if
I
there-
was thinking about it.
pal, even if there wasn't a pandemic, you got a baby at home, man. Vegas is is down the road for you.
Just saying.
I know. Well, I know you have an inveterate gambler as a life partner as well.
Indeed, true. But I'm just saying, like, all these casinos are hitting me up right now with exclusive deals for March. Great.
Yeah,
Take
no.
those deals and
Hotel
shove
rooms
it-
are basically
shove it.
free. Can I talk to you about something I was watching last night on TV?
Could you imagine if I said no right now?
I'd have to get up and leave then.
It'd be amazing. You should try it.
No, really? So last night on NFL Network, Top 100 came on, the show that you so brilliantly hosted.
Oh, the NFL 100 all-time team.
All-time team.
Okay.
And it was the quarterbacks
Yes.
were on yesterday.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there and I'm watching it again. It's probably like the third time I've watched it. And it was, the first part where you had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Yes, that was the first segment we shot. How much time do we back to make sure that TJ's conversation doesn't go too much over?
Got about a minute and a half.
Got about a
Okay,
minute.
yeah,
and a half.
I'll cut it quick.
Locking
So,
for us to join us.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching Tom basically just praise Bill and saying how much he wanted to spend time with him and get to know him and know what Bill was thinking before he was thinking it. And Bill kind of responded and said he took as many notes in meetings as Tom did because
Right.
he wanted to be on the same page. And
Right.
it kind of hit me last night. Well, if you had two people who worked so hard to get on the same page
Yes.
the way these two seemingly did,
Yes.
why would Brady want to leave that and go to another coach and another team where he wasn't quite on that
Great
same
question,
plane?
and that's why I brought up with Charlie Weiss yesterday about the idea of it being more than just about wins and losses and money. It's about respect and how that could be bridged. And he's basically like just intimating what everybody's talking about with Brady and Belichick, that their relationship is frayed and they need a new voice or whatever. And Charlie's like, how do you know that? He's not telling anybody that.
Right.
How do you know that?
He had a great point.
He's like, he's not saying that. I don't know. You don't know. But that's the point. Honestly, the number of times I sat there during the NFL 100, and we'll get to Lock and Four in a second, where I thought, man, Belichick is just a totally different level of experience than anybody else in his position in the NFL. And how do you beat that? I lost track of that. Back with Jason Lock and Four in a second. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show, and I turn to the phone line. I was on his local radio show yesterday in B City.
Nice.
Yes, he is an NFL insider for CBS and has been since 2012. It's been that long since we were NFL media group colleagues. He is Jason Lockenforia. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well, buddy. It's been a while, but we're homies for life, brother.
I know. Well,
you know that.
It's been a long while since NFL Network, but I spoke to you yesterday on your local radio.
Yes, you did.
Give a little run for your
local airwave. You brought some gravitas to the production. Thank you.
My pleasure. That's what I bring. I bring that in truckloads. The gravitas.
You throw it around, man. It's spilling out of your pockets. You got it everywhere.
All right, bro. So what's going on with the NFL right now and the decision for in relation to everything going on with the COVID-19 madness, Jason? I give you the floor on the owners meeting and the NFL new league year and the draft. What do you know?
Yeah, I'm hearing from multiple team employees that it's their understanding that the league meetings in West Palm Beach at the end of the month will not go on as planned. I reached out to the NFL about that and was basically told, yeah, we'll have something official on that. Stay tuned. The draft, they've got more time between now and the draft, but as we talked about yesterday, Rich, anyone who has to be there, including agents who represent players who would ostensibly be invited, top 20 type picks, don't want to be there. You know what I mean? And they don't know how they're going to go into these kids' houses and sit down with their moms and say, yeah, discount everything that's going on. There's going to be they'll send a private plane for us and it'll be okay. There'll be a couple 100,000 people in Vegas. Like, I just don't know how you sell that on a multitude of levels unless there is some drastic recalibration in how this virus is spreading in this country, in the next few weeks. So they're not in a rush to make any decisions, but the way things are trending, I don't know anybody in the league who thinks that that's going to go as planned. Again, unless there is a major course correction in how the virus is being handled and how it's spreading. In terms of the league year, the league is sending out vibes that nothing to see here. But Rich, you know how that goes sometimes, right? It's a little bit of a trial balloon. And how many calls do we get from team presidents and owners? And how many clubs are letting us know, well, hey, we're not bringing players to our facility, so we're not going to be able to consummate deals fully because we're not giving someone $55 million guaranteed until they pass a physical. And we're not going to be conducting any physicals. And you know what I mean? We've told people to essentially stay home. And if it was up to us, we'd close our facilities entirely. So it may be business as usual, but it ain't really business as usual.
Interesting. I did not think of that aspect because I've been just sitting here saying for the last hour plus, this stuff can be conducted by phone in terms of contracts. But when you're talking about multi-millions of dollars, you need to actually get a physical done. And how will that actually go down? I honestly didn't think about that, Jason. So,
and let's say there's an agreement, but it's just an agreement. And we're not going to take the physical for a week. And it still falls apart between one team and another team, and now they offer this guy more money. You know what I mean? I think the verbals could get a little complicated. And I'm taking it to the extreme, but as these teams are sitting back saying, well, we don't know exactly what the cap is yet, and we're not positive exactly what's going to end up with these figures in terms of the cap, in terms of the franchise and transition, because we don't know which CBA will be operating under, so we don't have all the information we need. So you start kind of planning out certain scenarios. Well, man, if all hell does break loose on Monday, what are the worst case scenarios? And there's some that could leave a lot of people peeved on either side, the player community or the team community.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So then let's take it one step at a time. Jason Canfora from CBS Sports here on the Rich Eisen Show. What are you hearing about the vote for the collective bargaining agreement? That is the first major domino to tumble here on that front.
Everything, and I'll be honest with you, today has been such a scramble keeping on track of the meetings and the draft and the league year and what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, so much in flux. I haven't doubled back with a lot of agents and players today to kind of take, caucus where things stand now with this virus being like it is and with professional athletes now being, we've got cases of known infections and spreading. Does that change some guys' calculus? Someone who hasn't voted yet, does he say, wait a minute, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now. Do I want to sign any kind of 10-year deal about anything? I don't know. Up until 48 hours ago, talking to especially the rank and file, agents who represent primarily guys on veteran minimum contracts, players who make well below, the league average. Most of those guys were still going to vote with their pocketbooks, which I understand completely. But you just kind of wonder, you know what I mean? Like, literally every 5 minutes there's some massive announcement that we never would have fathomed, right? That we never would have considered, even thought about being a possibility a week ago. Does that change this for some people? It may.
Well, what were you hearing, I guess, before all the COVID-19 madness began to...
that guys were going to do what made sense for them, which was, hey, I'm probably only in this, if I'm lucky, 3 to 5 years. And another $100,000 and an easier path towards pension and less risk in the preseason where I'm getting hurt in a game that doesn't matter anyway. And more jobs being created, which means maybe I do get a third contract instead of just 1 or 2. That made real-time sense for a lot of guys when they sat down with their wives, and had a glass of wine and said, okay, let's look at the pros and the cons. You could understand why a lot of players would say, I understand that the best 8th-grade quarterback on the planet might hate this deal in 2026 or whatever, but you know what I mean? For me right now and for our family, another $100,000 this year and probably next year and maybe a chance to squeeze out another contract after that because most guys are going year to year. That's, it's going to be hard to convince the missus that that's not what makes the most sense for us.
Right. Jason La Canfora here on the Rich Eisen Show. And then obviously the way that goes affects franchise tagging. Can you explain that conversation to fans that might be interested in whether that affects a team?
Whether we have
figuring stuff out.
Whether we have 2 or...
Right.
Yeah, so we've got the CBA vote this weekend, and if it passes, the proposal gets one more vote, yay than nay. Then we are no longer in the final year of the existing CBA. We're now into sort of a transition year into what becomes a decade-long CBA, and so teams would have, under the old rules, in the final year of a CBA, been able to apply a franchise and transition tag. If we're under the new rules, they'll just have one. It doesn't affect a ton of teams, but if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Tennessee Titans, it certainly could affect you because can you keep a Barrett and a Winston? Can you keep 2 out of 3 Tannehill, Conklin, and Derrick Henry on the tag if you can't get anybody extended? Can you automatically, bam, hey, Dak, you're franchised, and hey, Amari, you're transition. Obviously, if you only have one of those to play with, your Dak is going to get it no matter what. But that may, and look, he's probably going to be able to hit the market no matter what. And Jerry's got enough money to bring him back no matter what. But that's another reason why there's uncertainty and yet another reason why teams aren't talking turkey financially with agents the way they normally would be because the landscape is still a little uneven. It's still a little, no one knows, exactly what we're up against.
Few more minutes left with Jason La Canfora here on the Rich Eisen Show. We had our colleague Jeff Darlington on the air the other day to update us on his reporting that eight teams are interested in Tom Brady and whether he would be shocked if Brady goes back to New England. He said that there are still significant number of teams out there for Brady services. Don't sleep on the Bucks is what he kept saying a couple of times. And also did mention that he would be surprised if Brady did go back to New England. Today, we heard from his colleague at ESPN, Diana Rossini, who said that she's hearing that perhaps it's not as many teams out there for Tom Brady's services. What can you tell us as we are maybe on the precipice of a big free agent maneuver here?
I think would 6 to 8 teams, tap Don Yee, his agent, on the shoulder and say, hey, we like your guy. We would love to have an audience with the GOAT. Sure. Are there 8 teams that they make sense for him and he makes sense for them? And this is a two-way street and he's got to be on board. You're recruiting him. I don't really know, Rich. I have a hard time seeing. You're going to tell me there's 8 different jerseys I could picture Tom Brady in next year and that he could picture himself in. I don't know, but you listen, you play out you play things out, but all this uncertainty we've talked about has certainly pumped the brakes on Tom Brady really moving forward with some of these teams. At the end of the day, I have a hard time seeing him in Tampa. I mean, Bruce Arians can be very persuasive. I don't see him ending his career as a Tampa Bay Buck. The LA thing, if the Chargers came at him the right way, both ears would be wide open and he would be willing to be wowed. Do they have it in their wherewithal, or do they even want to wow him? That we'll see. I think the Raiders thing is interesting on some levels. Tennessee, the relationship with the coach, but I still think Tannehill's back there. I've thought that all along. Is there a mystery team? Maybe. And then I know a lot of people want to rule out the Patriots, but there's no way in the world that Tom Brady's signing somewhere else without giving Robert Kraft, his full and undivided attention at some point in this process. And we'll see where the Patriots are in terms of market value and if they're willing to pay Tom Brady the way the market would. If they are, then I have a hard time. I have a hard time ruling it out or saying I'd be shocked to see him retire as a Patriot. And honestly, Tom doesn't have all the information he needs to make these decisions yet.
Did you mention the 49ers?
I didn't. I guess you could throw them in there. That's another one where what I've heard there doesn't lead me to believe that that's a strong possibility. Mm-hmm. But look, nothing's impossible in a situation. I'm not going to rule anything out. But from what I've heard, I don't think that's one of the, if you made me handicap it, I don't know that I'd put them, in the 3 or 4 teams that I think it ultimately gets down to.
I mean, I think he would love to have that in the top 2 or 3. I would, again, and this is all conjecture, totally. But, hometown team, finish up where he always wanted to, as a kid play, parents nearby. They were 7 minutes shy of winning it all. Why not use your GOAT, gorilla in the room, elephant in the room, bull in the china shop status to see if you can try and make that happen, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we'll see.
Okay.
I don't know. I got a feeling that's not where it ends up, but I'm by no means am I saying it's out of the question. And to your point, no one knows. Like, I think if you gave Don Yee truth serum right now, you know what I mean? He couldn't tell you unequivocally where this path's going to end. There's more. This is not linear. It's not A to B. There's going to be more twists and turns and more meandering and more information gathering than Tom Brady's. This is it. This is the first time he's ever embraced free agency, and I think he's going to embrace it fully and see where it leads.
Jason, thanks for the time, man. Congrats on your new show. You want to tell people how they can listen to it around the country?
Thanks.
Go for it.
Inside access on 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. You can check it out nationwide on the radio.com app. We've got my old colleague, your still colleague, Brian Billick on today. We got Kirk Ferentz from Iowa talking about Marshall Yonda. We got everything you need, Rich, if you're a Baltimore fan or even just a football fan or maybe a sports fan. Not that I want to cut into your audience at all, but
Jason, first of all, it's all good. Secondly, you're on a different time than me. Otherwise, that's why I'm giving you the floor to tell us.
Okay, we don't overlap at all. I thought maybe there was like an hour or something where we overlap, but I'm not very good at math.
Maybe we do overlap, but either way, it's all good. You're a good man,
Thanks,
Jason.
my friend.
We'll
Always
chat soon.
appreciate it.
Right back at you. That's Jason Lockenfora from CBS Sports. I'm giving of my platform up to a point. When we meet in the competitive,
right, of course.
Venn diagram, when the Venn diagrams come across. Well, it's the second time this week I've mentioned Venn diagrams.
12 to 3 Eastern.
12 to 3 Eastern? Is it? When's his show on?
I don't know.
I know. I was on it yesterday, a half an hour after we were off the air here. So
he might be.
You might be two. I mean, we might start on 2 Eastern on through. Either way. Check us out, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show, and every single day on this radio station from 12 to 3 Eastern. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. We will take your phone calls and breaking news out of both hockey and Major League Baseball. That's next here on the Rich Eisen Show. This is one of my favorite segments that we had in the last couple of years. Remember when Akbar Baja-Biamila had that first pitch in Philadelphia?
Oh, do I ever?
That was so bad.
It was up there among the worst.
Okay. So we had Matt Eisman and Akbar Baja-Biamila here to promote a new season of American Ninja Warrior and gave it a great, fun treatment. Check it out.
Akbar, your first pitch in Philadelphia is such the stuff of legend.
Yes.
That it's received a documentary treatment from the ultimate in sports documentaries.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, it has it.
Check it out.
Wow.
What if I told you throwing out the first pitch at a baseball game isn't as easy as it looks? That many have spent the rest of their lives regretting. their trip to the mound? What if I told you a former professional football player who used his speed, strength, and agility was about to have his hard-earned athletic reputation shattered in only a few seconds by a tiny little baseball?
I was so fired up when I heard Akbar was throwing out the first pitch. I mean, I had visions of the big man going out there, throwing a frozen rope, and the crowd chanting, "Ah!" Didn't exactly work out that way, though. I mean, how hard can it be? Rich Eisen threw a strike. Guy's not even a punter. Not even an athlete.
Did you see the Philly Fanatics' reaction? That was awesome.
From ESPN Films' critically acclaimed documentary series, 30 for 30, it's Akbar's First Pitch, presented by LensCrafters Prescription Eyewear, Friday at 8 p.m.
Presented by LensCrafters.
That was good. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's my new favorite movie of all time. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Okay, first off, I'm a huge fan of 30 for 30. And I would like to think of myself as a person that deserves one, but I don't. Just crying. Oh my God. Here we go. Amazing. What if I told you? Oh my gosh. I told you. That was bad. Was Shawshank participated in this? I thought it was real. I didn't know. Oh my goodness.
That was really
They
funny.
were just, I mean, they were crying. They were laughing so damn hard, right?
Crying. So good.
American Ninja Warrior is on in my house. It's almost like the Law and Order for kids. Like it's on 15 different networks and it's on all the time, and my kids can't get enough of it.
Law and Order is
like
always on. At
my
house.
kids, I'm like, I didn't know this channel existed. I guess Universal for kids.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like USA, I think so, shows it.
It's on all the time.
Yeah.
On the whole U.S. Universal family of networks. You're working on a ton of stuff. You're working overtime, man. You're putting your college degree to use here.
There's just like so much happening.
Right.
The Celtics played the Jazz recently. Players and staff are self-quarantined while they wait to get tested.
Everybody in the NBA should take the next 2 weeks off. Yeah. Stay home.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell just posted on Instagram about it.
All right, I got to take a look at that, huh? How's he doing? He's got to be freaked out.
I would imagine both those dudes are.
All right, we'll take it again. Colin just put something out there, too, about his folks. Yeah, Colin Hanks.
Yeah. Yeah, he posted
He's
last
such a
night
good
about
dude,
it. Yeah.
man.
Oh,
I
he's
love
the best.
that guy. He and his wife are just great people.
Great people.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back in a second. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show, 844-204-RICH. We'll take your phone calls in a second. So, as you are quickly learning, Christopher,
yes, sir,
with a child in your household, there's now an alternate universe. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's going on outdoors, there's a different universe in your life, and it revolves around that baby. Cage Anthony Brockman, right?
Absolutely.
So you're finding that out.
Well, I mean, if it was just me, I wouldn't be that concerned about all of this.
Well,
but with
sure. So as Cage gets older, you will find it more and more important for you and Sarah to make sure that that alternate universe stays intact, and also not much pierces that world.
Yes, very much so.
To that end, last night, with the 3 kids in the house, we're all in for the evening. Masked Singer comes on. And I'm like, okay, it just had a different feeling to it, right? Where
now, was this after the NBA? This was after.
Oh
everything.
God, go Bears!
Got it.
The defensive player of the year with his ultimate shutdown. Yes, that had already happened.
Okay,
all right. Masked Singer happened. Sarah Palin's unmasked. Spoiler alert.
The baby got back.
And then I got caught up with Zan because the 2 younger ones went to bed. We gave Zan the, a
little later.
Yeah, we gave him
a little later bedtime.
Lego Masters.
Oh, I've seen this show
with Will Arnett.
Yes,
and
who was Batman in the Lego movie.
Right, I know, I get it.
Yeah.
And they had the competitors build out of Lego, obviously, these bridges onto which they placed weights. Weight after weight after weight, and see how much their bridges made of Lego could have how much it could hold before it collapsed.
Wow.
And I was totally fascinated.
You were locked in.
Now, for the last few weeks, I just kept walking past the room, and Xander's like, "Do you want to join?" I'm like, "I'm not kidding."
I'm out on the Legos.
This one, no, I'm like, I'm gonna sit down here.
So what was the weight totals final?
Dude,
Did you
two of these bridges made of Lego held 1,000 pounds. And each time they kept adding weights, and when they got up to like 700, 800, 900, like me and Zan, we were like legitimately celebrating
1,000 pounds?
Like, like a touchdown or a big 3-pointer. I was, yeah.
I mean, Rich, here's the thing. With the sports world kind of shutting down, we're going to need new things to bet on. So
okay, that one now you lost me. Now you're.
I think this is
your alternate universe.
I think this is okay by NFL guidlines for you to bet on
Lego Masters.
To bet on Lego Masters. I think it's okay.
Dude, I was just like, oh my God.
Wow.
All right. Meanwhile, back in our world, what are the updates that you have over there?
Okay,
that's going
still
on?
waiting official word from Major League Baseball, but Jeff Passan of ESPN is saying a conference call among owners went down this morning, expected to suspend spring training, likely will delay the beginning of the regular season as well.
Yeah. At this point, it's a formality that ownership level sources expect to happen. I mean, again, that's it. And you think the players want to play in this stuff? Do you think the players want to go to stadiums?
So Passan had a follow-up tweet to that. He talked to David Price as he walked into the Dodgers facility. It's going to happen. This is much bigger than sports. I've got 2 kids.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But, of course, it's easy for baseball players to say that, and for us to say that for the baseball players. Yep. It's what about those at Dodger Stadium who have planned for the last 6-7 months on the revenue that's supposed to come into their house to pay for mortgages, schools, childcare, all of that. What happens to those people who smile at you in their straw hats when you walk into Dodger Stadium saying, "Welcome to Dodger Stadium," and show you to your seat and make the fan experience so much more enjoyable there? What about those folks? What about them? Let's not forget them. And again, that's why I'm giving Mark Cuban kudos for saying right now, as for I guess the first 4 games, I guess the rest of this month, he's going to take care of that for the hourly workers, and I hope he does that for April and figures out how long he thought they'd play into the playoffs.
Statement from NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman in light of ongoing developments resulting from the coronavirus, and after consulting with medical experts and convening a conference call of the Board of Governors, the National Hockey League is announcing today that it will pause this season beginning with tonight games.
Got to do it. Let's all do this. And stay together. Be vigilant.
Our goal is to resume play as soon as it is appropriate and prudent.
Good. We'll get through it.
So we'll see.
We'll get through it. Wash hands.
We'll get through it.
Figure it out.
Yep.
Get testing to all of us that need it. Get the testing out. The testing has got to be free and it's got to be available as fast as possible. That's the way to flatten this curve. Get us all understanding who has it, who doesn't, who should be quarantined, who shouldn't, how do we all handle it, get educated, and that's the way we all avoid panic. And be smart about it. Will in Kentucky, you're on the Capital One fan phone line. What's up, Will?
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen?
What's on? What's in your mind?
No, nothing much. Like I said, big Utah Jazz fan, and that was a big shocker to me the other night. I was sitting at work, and also we again the call. Like I coach college tennis, and at our university, like they've pretty much suspended all non-conference play, and they're also considering just like canceling the whole season. They just sent their email out from the NAIA about canceling all of our winter sports championships, even the ones that were in play now. And I guess it kind of gets me because I was listening to what you're saying about everybody getting tested, and that's what I said in our meeting the other day. I said, why can't you all, as we are your employees, have a way to get us tested? Because I had a friend that got tested in Tennessee because of a case they had there, and he said, oh my God, that was the worst feeling in his mouth. He almost threw up like every time and gagged when they were swabbing his mouth. They swabbed so hard and had him quarantined. But what do you think? Do you think that if you work for a company, that company should be able to help provide it? And I mean, even with the government, I'm thinking, okay, different things are going on, but I think this is as big as it gets, and I don't really know if we should call it a pandemic, and I wanted to ask you about that as well.
Well, I'll tell you this, Will, I'm not an expert in it, so I appreciate that you look to me as an authority on that, and I respect you and appreciate it. I'm not an expert on it. I'm reading up on it. I'm trying not to be consumed by it. I'm trying to be present for my wife and kids as she is for me and them as well. So I don't know who should be the one providing testing. I'm thinking it's the federal government. Obviously, state and local municipalities, the federal government should be the ones saying to all these sports leagues, shut it down, not leave it up to the sports leagues to figure it out themselves, to be very honest with you. That said, just be vigilant, be smart, try not to panic, and and hang in there. And I appreciate the phone call. I appreciate the phone call right there. The World Health Organization is the one that called it a pandemic. Dr. Sanjay Gupta before them, too. Donovan Mitchell has posted on Instagram. I'd like to read it, if I may. It's a fun picture of him, by the way, having fun being introduced with fans behind him. Thanks to everyone who's been reaching out since hearing the news about my positive test. We are all learning more about the seriousness of this situation, and hopefully people can continue to educate themselves and realize that they need to behave responsibly, both for their own health and for the well-being of those around them. I appreciate the authorities in Oklahoma who were helpful with the testing process, and everyone from the Utah Jazz who have been so supportive. I'm going to keep following the advice of our medical staff and hope that we can all come together and be there for each other and our neighbors who need our help. It's a wonderful message, one that we should all follow. And then again, all of us need to press our those who can provide testing and do it fast and provide the money for testing and provide it, do it fast, because you're seeing Donovan Mitchell say this. Not all of us have the ability of having authorities do something on our behalf. Not all of us have medical staff to make decisions and monitor. A lot of us need help. And that help's got to come, because that's the way we can stay calm and be educated and be vigilant and be there for each other. That's crucial. Can't say that enough. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Chris Brockman's news update. Patrick Fabian of Better Call Saul in studio. We'll have a nice fun chat, pop culture and more. Hour 3. So we didn't even really unpack what Canfora had to say, which is, I didn't think of that with medicals having to be, medical exams needing to be conducted before a deal can be made for multiples of millions of dollars. And that would mean somebody who's sitting there in, say, Arizona in their off-season home being flown to, say, Carolina, just using those two locations where a lot of players have off-season homes on the West Coast and they're trying to sign maybe a team on the East Coast. Well, I guess David Tepper could fly somebody private as opposed to the concern over maybe flying commercial and get them to a doctor who would be able to do it. It's entirely possible for that to happen. But I didn't think of that. And could you imagine that somebody holds off after a regular handshake verbal agreement and then another team swoops in that time that you're waiting to be flown out for a medical? What would happen then? All right, before Patrick Fabian joins us, Better Call Saul, great show. We talked Breaking Bad back in the day and had fun with the star of Breaking Bad, one of the best people that's strolled through our in-studio doors, the great Bryan Cranston.
We're thrilled to have back here one of my favorite guests, and I'm not just saying that because you're sitting right here.
I think you are. What are you on, steroids or something?
I am actually on steroids, Bryan Cranston. Last flag flying in select theaters now.
We're going to have to disqualify this show because of your steroid use.
You know what? I thought about that before taking that steroid, and vacate all other shows before it. You know, if there was a banner here at the show, I'd have to take it down. But my back pain was so searing.
Now, wouldn't it be disheartening if you took the steroid and you had the best show ever? Then you'd go, oh, my God. Oh, I have to take more steroids. How can you go off the steroid?
I guess that is the conundrum. That every
good thing that it wasn't a great show. So good for you.
Actually, it's been a great show so far. And you're just only here to make it better, Bryan. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to keep this thing going. Yeah, keep it going. Better Call Saul now. Okay, we're getting to the part.
We're getting there.
Where it moves. We're moving slowly.
We're moving
like Tortuga. We're moving that slowly. Okay, but we're getting to the part where Walter White could show up. Are we seeing Walter White anytime soon?
Well, I'll tell you this as an exclusive on the Rich Eisen show.
Nice putting the bug. Well, no. Without the mug.
There it is. There's the exclusive. What I can tell you is that I have no news to tell you.
Okay.
I've been pulling your leg this whole time. I just don't know. Vince Gilligan, Peter Gould, who run that show, I love them. I owe them so much. I would do anything for them. Before they finish the sentence, I would be on a plane to Albuquerque if they wanted me to do something.
Right. So in doing that, what you would see him before, maybe we could see him before in a way, that his cancer diagnosis, we could see him post-cancer diagnosis, right? Even though, again, we didn't meet Saul until afterwards. Just seeing you in the pre-Breaking Bad world,
it's
just
conceivable
somewhere.
It's conceivable. They're operating out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it's not that big a town.
There. And then, spoiler alert, though. I mean, it just amazes me seeing in in Better Call Saul the number of characters whose demise eventually is met because of your character.
Me?
I know exactly. It is remarkable how each and every one of them eventually has to be undone.
I unfortunately have that association. If I spend any amount of time with someone, they end up dying surprisingly. So I would suggest you get life insurance. You want to protect your family. And
everything you do that. Okay.
Sorry.
yesterday on The Rich Eisen Show.
Dan Plesac, MLB Network here on The Rich Eisen Show. I've said over and over again, if I was a pitcher, I'd rather face somebody with a trapezoid head be standing there than the person who knows what pitch is coming.
I think it's going to be a very difficult year for the Houston Astros. These guys, they're walking around with a giant target on their back. Guys around the league, I've never seen a group of players more angry at this than the steroid era, and I played in the steroid era.
Another Rich Eisen Show is coming at you right now.
Y'all ready for this?
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
Jay Billis, what are your thoughts here, Jay?
You know, we're seeing schools all over the country now canceling their classes and telling their students don't come back from spring break.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com.
And it's a public health issue. 75,000 people come in and watch us. That's going to look a little odd.
Stay away from large crowds. It's really that simple.
This is the Rich Eisen Show. Earlier on the show, Bleacher Report senior NBA writer Howard Beck, CBS Sports NFL insider Jason Canfora. Coming up from AMC's Better Call Saul, actor Patrick Fabian. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Hey, everybody. Hour number 3 of the Rich Eisen Show is on the air. And in the 5.5 years of us doing this show, I never thought a day like today would hit where we're on the air talking about the closure of the NBA, the NHL, the impending closure of Major League Baseball, and the expected delay of everything else. The
possible cancellation of March Madness.
March Madness has not. You know, the NCAA hasn't chimed in yet, but all the conference tournaments that were slated for this week canceled. Not played in front of an empty arena. Canceled, flat out. And I think part of that was what it showed you last night, the NBA, what happened in the NBA last night, to cause them to suspend their season, as they're terming it, a player of note even, too. I mean, it shouldn't matter if they're, the last player on the team or a player. Rudy Gobert testing positive for coronavirus, and then today Donovan Mitchell following suit. And that just showed you how even if you play with no fans in the building, there's still enough people in the building that if one of the players has the virus, the number of people that they connect with, and then the officials that are there get on a plane. The players go from city to city, and then the officials get on a plane, which is why a Kings-Pelicans game had to be canceled last night. Because when Gobert tested positive, they realized one of the officials from Gobert's last game was working last night. And, Donovan Mitchell putting out an Instagram today that we're showing on our screen on our youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show live feed, in which he put out a very positive message, having people get out there to be there for each other, all come together for each other and our neighbors who need our help and educate themselves. You did throw in there about behaving responsible, that I'm sure many people will take as possible shade in the direction of Rudy Gobert, who was not acting responsibly a couple days ago. And according to Adrian Wojnarowski's Woj Bomb this morning, Jazz players were privately telling him that Gobert was being careless with other people's stuff. I guess he was having as much fun with other people's stuff as he was with a microphone in a media room the other day. And I'll tell you what, if I'm that person who was in charge of working the mics, or Jason Feller or sitting in for Del Tufo today, whoever's job that was audio-wise to set that mics up, I'm getting tested fast as I can possibly get tested. And that's the problem, is many people don't know where to get tested, how to get tested. We're seeing Utah Jazz players get tested. It shouldn't matter if you play for the Utah Jazz, you work in Utah, for the state government, you're a teacher in Utah, you're just a human being in Utah, you're on unemployment insurance in Utah, shouldn't matter. We're all people in the world, and we got to make sure we don't pass it to each other. So 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. This hour, we are going to tap out, hit the top of our heads, to use the NFL helmet tap phrase, from this conversation. Patrick Fabian of Better Call Saul, one of my favorite shows on TV, fifth season of Better Call Saul airs Monday nights at 9 Eastern Time. The man with the Hamlindigo eyes, Howard Hamlin. He plays Howard Hamlin on the show. He'll be here. Patrick Fabian. He's a diehard Steelers fan and a big sports fan, and it's just always a pleasure having him on. I think this is his third visit to our show.
I think you're right.
I don't know if he's got betting slips for you, Chris, to cash like he did the last time.
That was 2 years ago.
I'm not to say he's coming empty-handed. We're just thrilled that he's here at all in this day and age, obviously. At Patrick Fabian on Twitter, he's sitting in our green room. Just had a nice chat with him. But there's a lot of news going on. Chris Brockman with his news update, brought to you by our friends at Honda, and in particular, the Honda HR-V, which is stupendously stylish and available with all-wheel drive. The HR-V is ready to team up for your next adventure, so hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
And now, with a report of the day's news from the world of sports and entertainment, someone who is not a journalist or newsman by any definition of the word whatsoever, it's Chris Brockman.
Christopher, what do you have over there, man?
Okay, so it's hard to keep up with all of these, but let's start with college athletics. Duke has suspended all athletic activities indefinitely, as has Kansas and Arizona State. Duke's athletic director, Kevin White, is the chairman of the NCAA tournament committee. So if that could be a precursor to the cancellation of
well, if Duke's saying we're not taking part, I mean, how do you hold an NCAA tournament without Duke? Yeah. Or Kansas, by the way, who
is the number one seed.
Well, I asked Billis yesterday, Jay Billis, who was on the show yesterday. I'm like, give me the one seeds. First word out of his mouth was Kansas. Again, I know people think it's political. I just wish this stuff would be coming from the federal government, from the Coronavirus Task Force, coming from that microphone saying, we're canceling all these events because we know what's coming. We've got this thing. Here's Dr. Fauci. You tell us what to do. Instead, it's just up to schools and sports entities to make these decisions themselves. What are we doing?
All right, so Adam Schefter saying many teams are shutting down their facilities. The Eagles are one. Okay. Jeffrey Lurie said in a statement that the Eagles are shutting down their facilities. Tom Pelissaro, NFL has no plans, however, to move back the start of the league year. It's still on for Wednesday, March 18th.
I guess everyone could telecommute to make these decisions. Huh. Well, and again, the NFL is telecommuting. The league office starting tomorrow, too.
Sounds like a lot of colleges are doing the same thing, online classes when they return from spring break.
Right. I think didn't Ivy League basically say we're not even having you come back from spring break? Or plan not to?
The Ivy League has been out in front of all of this.
They have, haven't they? Just think about that. When Robin Harris, the executive director of the Ivy League, said 2 days ago, we are canceling our conference tournament. Yale is the men's champion. Princeton is the women's champion. We are not holding this tournament. It was slated to be held on campuses. We're not doing it. So, the initial reaction was like, what are you doing? Think about how fast this world is changing. That 2 days from now, it's like totally understood, absolutely what needs to happen. I got to be honest with you. It is comforting that these things are taking place and that hopefully this does lead to a better sense of how to be vigilant and how to handle ourselves to make sure, God forbid, our health service industry and the people, I'll say it here, because I'm reading a lot about what's going on in the state of Washington and what might be breaking out in New Rochelle, New York right now. The healthcare industry, the healthcare providers, doctors, nurses assistants, everybody working in a hospital right now, I think needs to be viewed, treated, and eventually will be, if they already aren't, like first responders in 9/11. Because what is coming their way or what is already in their midst, the way they are handling it and trying to treat the sick and trying to make sure that those who are more sick get treated first while having compassion for those who aren't as sick and might not be seen because they have to play triage. how they are making these decisions and how they are handling themselves and answering the shifts and not getting extra shifts and being told right now, I know a bunch of healthcare individuals have been told, hey, in a week to 10 days, you're not getting any time off. So right now, take your time, but in a week to 10 days, all hands are on deck. We got to avoid that in this country. So I'm part of a lot of this stuff that you're telling me right now, while is unnerving.
Yes.
Because, again, we don't know what we don't know, and not enough people, I can't say it enough, are being tested or know where to get tests. It is comforting to know that this is all happening because we got to do it. It has to be done so we can get back to normal world as fast as possible.
Yeah, just updating all of the events here
Chris.
in the leagues. Taking after the NBA last night, Major League Baseball is suspending spring training, likely the beginning of the regular season as well. There's a sense from ownership level that it's a formality at this point. Gary Bettman has announced the National Hockey League is doing the same, suspending its season with hopes to get back on the ice at some point in the future, unknown at this point.
Right.
We've been talking about Mark Cuban and what he said yesterday. Let's play some of that right now, talking about how serious this is and how he plans to take care of his own employees.
This is people's lives at stake. This isn't about basketball. This isn't about the Mavericks. This isn't about, when do we start or how do we start? This is a pandemic, a global pandemic where people's lives are at stake. And, I'm a lot more worried about my kids and my mom, who's 82 years old, and talking to her and telling her to stay in the house than I am about when we play our next game. And talking to when some of the things were coming up that we might not play games, and this was yesterday, I reached out to the folks at the arena and our folks at the Mavs to find out what it would cost to financially support people who aren't going to be able to come to work. They get paid by the hour, and this was their source of income. And so we'll do some things there. We may ask them to go do some volunteer work in exchange, but we've already started the process of having a program in place. And I don't have any details to give, but it's certainly something that's important to me.
Well done, Mark Cuban. Well done. Well said. My mom's 82 as well. She might be out there watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom. Genuinely concerned. We all are.
Yeah, the PGA Tour is going to still hold this event as scheduled, but without fans. NASCAR is going to conduct its next 2 weeks in Atlanta and Homestead without fans. The ATP has suspended all men's tournaments for 6 weeks. No ATP or Challenger Tour events until the week of April 20th. La Liga announced that its first and second divisions has been suspended for the next 2 match days. This comes after players on Real Madrid were placed into quarantine. The Met Opera and Carnegie Hall have closed in New York City. The California State Athletic Commission has suspended all combat sports for the month of March, which includes a Golden Boy boxing match at the Forum here in Inglewood.
Wow. That's a lot, man.
It's a lot. The entire sports world is coming to a halt like we've never seen before.
And hope to never see again. But like I said, the sports world leading the way is important because that's the way a lot of us realize the seriousness here. Oh, now I get it. Now I get it. Now I understand what's going on here. And now I need to take other measures in my life to make sure that we don't get it, and let's try and slow down the spread of this disease, this virus. Let's get it. In the same way that once we do all this and get through all this, how great is it going to be to get it all back? Right?
That's true. There's no doubt about that.
That it'll help bring us all back together again.
And it's funny how sports always has a way of doing that.
It does. Yes, it does. Is there anything else over there, or is it's pretty much about it?
Not as of right now, yeah. Pretty much everything is.
That'll wrap it up. You know what I mean? It's just like, honestly, I never thought we'd see the day. Certainly never thought I'd be sitting in front of a live microphone trying to make heads or tails of it in real time and communicate it to an audience. I'm just trying to be, normal about it.
If you want some actual NFL transactions, the Packers
Sure, yeah.
released Jimmy Graham, and the Titans released Deion Lewis.
They did, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. But all these teams that are going to be not in their facilities, one would think, a capologist can get on a FaceTime with the general manager and call a player and strike a deal. But if you can't get him for a physical, then what are you going to do? Man, hopefully this just can pass quickly. From everything I read, it is not happening anytime soon. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we all have to hang in there together. And as long as we're all healthy here, we plan to be at this microphone. So as much as we possibly can. Alabama just postponed its pro day. I mean, look, pro days are an absolute luxury for scouts.
Yes, they have years of tape on these kids.
It is, for some of these young men who were not invited to the combine, a necessity to get on radar screens. But scouts and evaluators know where they are and know who they are to the best of their ability. For most, the eye in the sky, the combine, the East-West Shrine, the Senior Bowl, the NFLPA game, those will all cover it. The pro days are just are like I said, a kind of a cherry on top for scouts. But in the same way that I said, we'll get through it. We can all survive if the NBA doesn't play and the NHL doesn't play. We'll all survive if pro days don't happen. That'll be that 1 year, and then again, when it comes back, we'll want it more. We just got to get to that point. The question is, how quickly can we do it, and how healthy can we do it? Testing. I can't stress it enough. Let's get testing. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. We'll get your phone calls, but when we come back, we will take a break from all this insanity. And what a great season Better Call Saul Season 5 has been so far. It has been just one big ball of cotton candy for all of us longtime Breaking Bad fans and also Better Call Saul fans. The man who plays Howard Hamlin from Better Call Saul is here. Patrick Fabian, next on The Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk right now a little bit about, we'll be back in a second right here on our show. All good.
Mike Del Tufo over there, when Justin Hartley of This Is Us was here on Friday, he planks weights on his back. Okay, there he is, putting plank after plank. Those are 45 pounds. He waves on more weight. See, come on, let's get some more. Right? Del Tufo sees this and he goes, I could do that, is what he said. And he said he would do 145. Now, we took that, when you say when he can do 145, how much weight do you think that means? Just off
145.
Right. No.
One plate, that means 45 pounds.
Get out of here. How long you say you can do this?
A minute, come on.
All right, here we go. Mike,
get off your knees. Go to the right spot in your
45
mind now. Go to the right spot in your mind, buddy. Come on, look it up. All we see is the finish line, baby. All we see
Coach him up, Herb.
That's
Coach
all
him
we
up.
see. Victory is simple, baby.
Ooh.
Right now,
Don't
worry about the body, baby. Our mind's controlling our body. Our
Preach,
body
Michael,
don't
preach.
control our mind. We got this, baby. We got this. We gonna show the world. That's what you're about to show.
What do we got?
Show the world, baby. Don't worry about it.
Just only 24 seconds.
Don't worry about it.
Flatten out.
Don't worry about it.
Here
You
we
got 2 blocks out.
All right.
You got 2 blocks gone.
Halfway home.
You got 2 blocks gone. You got
Halfway
2 more go. All see, just see that finish line. Look at the glory. Look at your chest touching the tape. Get your diss on that tape. Look at you, baby.
20 seconds to go.
You're coming in 20 seconds, baby. You can finish this, man. We can do this. I'm kidding. 10 pounds. Be a man. Be a man. Get up there, buddy. Where you go, baby? Where you go? Think about your lady. Go.
I do that every day, people, at the gym.
I can't tell.
I do it.
Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show, not only to our listeners, but our viewers and youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. And welcoming back to this program is the man of pride of Penn State University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and also one of the stars of Better Call Saul, playing Howard Hamlin, airing Mondays at 9 Eastern Time on AMC. Patrick Fabian, good to see you again, brother.
Hey, glad to be here. I'm good. I mean, we're in the midst of the sky falling, literally. So, but other than that, I'm happy to be here to promote my television show.
I appreciate that you are here in person. I appreciate that for sure. And it is good to see you. You look well, and everything's going well.
I'm good. I have to say, I'm doing my green. I'm Californian, so you got to do your green juice every day. It's sort of like a requirement if you're in the business.
Getting through all that.
I didn't get my yoga in, but I did do my swimming at the public pool today, which was great. I'm going to go there as long as I can because it's me and all the old Russian guys who live in my neighborhood.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great posse to hang with.
That sounds like the worst reboot of Cocoon I've ever heard. That is just a dreadful Cocoon reboot right there.
Well, the locker room scenes aren't very pretty.
Yeah, I don't know. The Russian who plays Wilford Brimley must be a little bit off. Man, I'm loving Better Call Saul, brother. It's just as good as ever. It just doesn't stop.
Thanks.
I mean, it must be amazing to be on a set and just see these scripts come in from obviously Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould and
the whole writing staff is fantastic.
Right.
You know, I'm on the show, obviously, so I'm a homer, but, you know, we're in our 5th season. A lot of times, you know, shows can dip. They can have the jump of the shark and all that sort of thing. And I just don't think these writers have done it. They just keep getting better and better. And I think part of that is the cumulative effect of us watching it and being behind Jimmy and watching him turn into Saul. And even though there's only 10 episodes per season, I think that's laid itself into, they're all good episodes. And now we're in season 5, and we're seeing Jimmy get really well. He's Saul now.
He is Saul.
He's Saul completely with the suits and everything else.
Right.
And so,
but just not with his office yet. We haven't gotten him. He's not totally down the full Saul Goodman wormhole just yet.
No, but watching him embrace that, you know, the highest compliment I can give him. I think I meant to call Bob about this. My mother in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Her and my dad watch the show every Monday night at 10 o'clock because they have a DVR, but of course they don't know how to operate it. And so they wake up after watching the show, you know, and she called me and she goes, you know, I saw Bob on Kelly and Ryan and he was so different than he is on the show. He's a really good actor. So I was going to pass on Mary Lou Fabian's compliment to him. Yeah.
So, you know, did Mary Lou think he's going to be handing out 50% off felony cards to the Ryan and Kelly audience or something?
No. I think her usual comment to me was this: "Oh, it's never going to be called Better Called Howard."
That's right.
Yeah. Right? But you gotta love her. I'm just like, Mom, it's actually a really good show.
That's
believe
what
me.
Moms do. It's fantastic.
It's very successful. This is a good job, Mom.
I love that. And he's tossing bowling balls at your car this time, this past episode.
You know what? More people tweeted at me about how they were sad about my car than they were about like me, emotionally. They were just like, "Oh, dude, sorry about the Jag."
Right. Who's the one on the set that is most close to the character that they portray?
Well, Ray Seahorn would say it would be me because Howard's vainglorious and peacock.
Right.
That's why she would be wrong, of course.
Of course.
I don't know. Do you really want to meet Michael Mando in a dark corner?
Nope.
I don't think so. Mando, if you're listening, I love you, brother. You know that.
Nacho is such a great character.
He has been great.
Right? Nacho's
He's
great.
awesome.
And, you know, he's getting untethered as well now. And, you know, the addition of Tony Dalton as Lalo has been great, right? Because he's this weird wire of energy with that great smile that seems very disarming, that makes you think like, oh, there's no malice in him, when of course there's all this awfulness underneath him.
Well, we also know Giancarlo Esposito is not Gus Fring. He has come on this show almost as many times as you have, and he is a delightful individual.
Just talk about a good actor. My mother should know how good of an actor he is as well.
I mean, he is, honestly, he comes in here, and there was one point though where I did ask him a question about how long does it take him to get into Gus Fring, right? And he then flipped me that look. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
You do not like to be on the receiving end of that look, do you?
No. I didn't like it at that point in time. But I have absolutely just enjoyed the whole shoot match so far this year. It really
absolutely. You know, I said to Jonathan Banks a couple of years ago, I was just like, oh man, I really hope we have a scene together. And he immediately goes, no, you don't. You don't want a scene with me, Patrick, okay? And I was like, you know what? Maybe on second thought, we can hold that off until the final season.
Pretty good.
That's a great invitation right there.
Jonathan, I love you. You know that, Jonathan. I love you.
Well, he's been in so many great things. We met him at the Red Cross golf tournament that I know you play
he's a
here
big
locally
golfer for charity, absolutely.
He was in 48 hours.
How about that?
He was the Nick Nolte's partner who gets killed in the beginning of 48 hours.
And he looks great. By the way, he looks almost exactly the same.
Pretty much.
He really does. He was sort of 60 when he was 20, I think.
Right. I know that. Patrick Fabian here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think of your Steelers season, man? I mean, they were better than anybody expected or could expect.
Well, absolutely. That's coaching up.
I
think without a doubt. I think maybe the last couple of years, maybe he was losing control of the team in some respects.
Right.
And I think this was a great opportunity to remind us why he is the coach for the Steelers. He's the right coach for the Steelers.
He's amazing.
Right?
You could say this is Mike Tomlin's best coaching ever.
Oh, I'm surprised he didn't get Coach of the Year. I think he should have been up for
the
it.
The only thing is that being 8-8, it's just
okay. That you can't really reward that. I understand.
It's tough to give but to say you were 8-8 and you should have been 5-11
easily.
I know
easily, and you know what? I appreciate Pittsburgh fans embracing the rotating quarterbacks, trying to make them, trying to put them on their shoulders. I loved watching Minkah Fitzpatrick. That was a great deal. Mm-hmm. I know on draft day, of course, we're going to go like, oh, number 5 should have been ours. But no, I think for the long term, I like that he's there.
No, I mean, he's exactly the type of guy that you go against type and give up a first-round draft choice in the future draft, what the Steelers never do twice. And it just showed you that they knew they had to hit this defense and get it shored up better to get to where they want to go by, for the first time in the Super Bowl draft era, trading up 10 spots in the first round to get Devin Bush, and then 3 weeks into the season, because the fire sale was on in South Florida, go and flip a first in the future year, which they never do.
It saves the season. It sets the mold for the next 5 to 10 years to come. Mm-hmm. It's going to be. I'm hopeful, and also, depending on how Big Ben is on his return, clearly we're in the last quarter of our Big Ben time. So eyeing the future. I mean, we're going to need a QB at some point.
I know.
I don't know if the Duck is the man.
Duck or Mason Rudolph too.
You know what? I like them both, and I thought they both. Other defenses got their number pretty quick.
Well, I know. Patrick Fabian of Better Call Saul here on the Rich Eisen Show. Look, if I had told you, okay, the first Brown Bell-less season would also be Big Ben-less from the middle of the second game on, it'll be 8-8.
Now that's a bet. That's whoever took that bet was really smart, right?
Now, speaking of bets, Chris,
I knew this was going to come up.
I know you were hoping that Patrick Fabian would bring gifts like the last time.
Yeah,
I did appreciate that.
Yeah, I recall that I brought you all some bets from Vegas because I was there, and I gave you a Michigan.
You gave me a Michigan.
It was a long shot, and by the way, shout out to Shannon Simon, my friend, who's just discovered. I've known her for 20 years, and she just discovered I was a Steeler fan by listening to your promo and listening to your show.
How is some
Springs eternal, as they say, this year.
I enjoyed that one immensely.
Oh, yeah. Especially because we were suffering as well. This might make me I don't know, they might throw me out of Steeler Nation. I did bring a winning ticket.
Rams.
Yeah.
Now, how much did you make off of that?
That was a $5 ticket. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
At 8-1.
Ah.
Cleared $45.
Is there any?
Well, that's lunch money right there.
And been able to cash it.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Money never left the casino. This is a sealed envelope.
I have no idea what you're talking about for the University of Michigan.
It's around here somewhere.
Wow.
We've got a lot of knickknacks.
Do you have a refrigerator? I'm sure it's on a magnet somewhere back there.
It's somewhere.
There's no way that exists anymore.
But I got bad news for you. I have not made a Vegas trip, and I was unable to make you a bet for the upcoming season. But
that's all right. Brady's not re-signing there anyway.
He's not. He's going to be a Charger, isn't he? But instead, I'm going to make you all honorary members of HHM.
Oh, great. There you go. I've got a Hamlin and McGill.
JD.
Notepad.
Thank you,
HHM and your fancy pen.
All right.
Pens.
Wow.
Special, right?
Wow.
Pens. HHM pens.
There you go. That's the way it
By
is.
the way, I
amazing.
love this.
This is so great.
I love this. Hamlin, and McGill.
So there you go. Now you're official. You can write down all your thoughts. You could write down your poetry, late at night with your Hamlin, McGill pen.
You could take your future winning tickets and just put them right in here.
I cannot believe you did not catch that.
I can't believe it either.
Yes,
because he was saying it when I'm like, so Patrick's coming in later on this week, and he goes, "Do you think he'll bring me another Super Bowl ticket to cash?"
Well, then technically, I cannot be thrown out of Steeler Nation because since the ticket was not cashed, I have not crossed that heretical line by actually rooting for the Patriots. How about that?
I agree.
I'll take that. I'll bend it that way.
Oh, bend it like Fabian.
There you
go. Do you think your coach is still going to stick around Penn State? He's coming back one more year, obviously, but every year we keep hearing out here in Los Angeles that the Trojans are going to knock on his door or something like that.
I hope he stays. I think, he's the right coach for that school.
Right.
And he's done such a fine job with them. And that was a lot to put on your back.
Right.
The interim coach, who was there for a year down at Texans?
No, Bill O'Brien.
Yeah. I mean, thankless job.
I mean, he got that on the straight and narrow and clearly showed his chops to be a head coach in the in the big leagues too. So.
Yeah, so it worked out great, but it was good that I have just a moment with him. And then Franklin is the future. I think I would hate to see him come all the way to USC, even though it's my backyard.
Okay. Before I let you go, sir, it's so tough to ask these questions of a member of a show like Better Call Saul because I kind of know what the answer is going to be. But what can you tell us about the next 6 episodes that you can drop a breadcrumb or two that will not have? Let me ask you.
I can tell. You know what I can tell you? I can tell you things are going to get crazy. Before the end of the season.
Well, I mean, you could say that about any season.
Well, no, because sometimes things have not gotten
right?
crazy. Sometimes it's a nice lawyer show with some emotional problems, and there's some threats of violence,
True.
and there's some other things.
The first 2 seasons were a slow burn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And no, I think the snowball goes rolling down the hill hard this time. And there's a particular episode. I think I can say this.
Okay.
There's a particular episode with Jonathan and Bob that is just jaw-dropping, directed by Vince later on in the season.
Directed by Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, so
Mike
you can do some
Ehrmantraut
research on that.
And Saul Goodman have.
I will say they have a scene or two that'll be extremely satisfying to everybody.
Okay. Now we also got I love it. Dean Norris is truly.
I mean, to see
treasure.
to see Hank alive, right? And
It's
that's the
great.
whole thing. You're like, oh, you're right, Hank and Gomer are there. They're alive, and it's great.
I know that.
Right,
well,
right.
here, look, the whole. That's what the thing is about Better Call Saul, with the exception of Saul. Okay, because obviously we see the flashbacks to him in black and white at the beginning of every season. To
Flash forwards.
Well, yeah, I guess the flash forwards,
Yeah.
or the present day. It's
Right.
not a flash
Present
forward.
day.
The rest of it's a flashback. I will say this, and even though I know that Breaking Bad has been out there, but it's been out there a long time. The thing that Susie and I, my wife and I, remark watching Better Call Saul is the number of people on the screen that we know that they are escaping and cheating death and being skirting on the edge of putting themselves in harm's way, that eventually when they run into Walter White, he offs them all. Like, he gets them, absolutely all of them. And that's the amazing thing about this show. So I ask you, are we done seeing Breaking Bad characters from yesteryear on this season?
Oh, well, that. No, I want to keep my job. I can't say anything about that. You know what I can say?
Okay.
Tune into AMC on Monday nights to
There you
find
go.
out.
Well done.
Well done.
Well done.
See, I knew at some point I would push it
Cross
far
the
enough that
line,
you'd have to say,
I'm looking for job security, my friend.
You can't do any of that. Mondays at 9 Eastern Time on AMC. Better Call Saul, starring Bob Odenkirk, Jonathan Banks, Rhea Seehorn, Michael Mando, Giancarlo Esposito, and you, Patrick Fabian, just to name a few. Just it's really great. Have you spent the last 2-3 minutes searching for that?
Is he still looking for it?
He literally is
I
thumbing
thought maybe
through
I'd
all
put it in the
different
Gronk
books.
book or something. It's around here somewhere.
I'll tell you what, if you do, take a picture and post it for me so I can see, or at least get it back to Vegas.
It's
They're
too
still
late
playing with
now,
my
right?
money.
It's not forever. It doesn't last forever, right? Isn't there?
Why wouldn't it? It's a winning ticket.
There aren't. It's not like a check that after a certain
No,
year.
I think you might be right. I think
it lasts forever.
Well, because forever the result is still the result, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're not going to go back and give the Rams the win.
They can make up any of their rules. If you were running the casino, wouldn't you say you have a year to claim it? If not, it's our money.
This sounds like Albert Brooks in Lost in America. Going,
I did tweet
going
you
up,
nest egg.
going up to the casino
Right.
boss to going up to
Give us our money back.
Yeah, going up to Gary Marshall to basically say, you've got a kid now. You need a nest egg.
I do.
I need to cash this check.
I did
And-
tweet
and the
you the
casino
ticket
boss is like,
after the Pats won.
So seriously, let's just.
So it's somewhere,
dude. Let's just extrapolate this out. Let's say you've got a winning ticket from Super Bowl 13. You're gonna walk into Circus, which still exists, and say, "I've had this ticket. I found it in my attic. I need to cash it."
But if you have a ticket from the Sands, it doesn't exist anymore.
I know that. So that's the way that one went. But if the casino still exists, it should be able to be cashed
I would imagine.
It feels like it, although it does feel like Circus might be the one that says no.
I had to just pick out a casino that I know is still around.
A little insight
That
into
hasn't
Rich
been
Eisen and his vacation.
I couldn't say the Bellagio because the Bellagio wasn't around in Super Bowl 13.
No, I hear. No, good pick.
He's still looking through his belongings. Chris, you're not going to find it.
It is gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's never coming back.
Thank you. You've restored my
It's
Steeler
gone.
Nation status. I'll take it.
But that does sound like one of the best scenes Albert Brooks in Lost in America with Gary Marshall.
So funny.
Wanting his
And that's
net,
way
gotta have
before I
heart.
really understood what a nest egg really was.
The Desert Inn has heart. Oh my gosh.
The Desert Inn has
The Desert
heart.
Inn has heart. Oh my gosh. Hamlin and McGill's. Patrick Fabian. Check out again Better Call Saul. 5th season, and thank goodness it's been renewed for a 6th. Unfortunately, that is the final season. But Mondays at 9 Eastern Time on AMC. Thanks for coming in here, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Be well. We're back with breaking NFL news in a moment, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Come back on. Hey, so we're back on youtube.com/Rich
All right,
Eisen
so
Show
you
right
made
now.
fun of me for going
Patrick.
through the bag over here.
Unbelievable.
Look what I found.
Unbelievable.
All right, so here's an envelope from the MGM Resorts. I have in my possession a $5 winner for New England at 7-1.
He found it.
Wow. I cannot believe
Now,
that.
what is the fine print? What's the fine print?
Let's see. Please check your ticket for accuracy. Oh, no. Ticket becomes void 120 days after event.
You can't just sit on this stuff forever.
Dang it.
It's money.
It's money in, money out. Like it's just like, when you. And by the way,
All right, I have an idea.
The
Here's what we're
casino's
gonna
not going to be like, you or I, where you call a
black
friend like,
Sharpie?
hey, are you going to cash the check or not?
They're not going to chase you down
You know
on
what I mean?
that.
Like, it's been 5 months. They're not going to call you up and be like, are you going to cash this ticket or not? Because, our books show that this money's out.
We need to really balance this by the end of the year.
All right, Patrick.
Wow, it's good to know.
Come sign this, baby.
I will sign that. Are you kidding me? Awesome.
So this is now an official keepsake.
This is a keepsake.
There you go. It's like
keepsake.
it's like I picked up a keychain in Baker.
By the way, we
on
also
the way
had
out.
tickets for the Steelers. They were 8-1 in 2018, and the Browns were 60-1.
60.
That's money. Oh, it would have been sweet had that gone through, right? Then you'd be like,
Well, I would have cashed that.
By the way, that was the Hugh Jackson turns into Greg Williams Browns.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That was Hugh Jackson didn't want to open up the playbook for Baker Mayfield.
and they tell Todd Haley, pound sand, you're not sticking around here anymore.
I'm so glad I found it.
Sand.
So
Okay.
you could have put a 1 or a 2 or a 5 in front of that 60. That wasn't even come close.
Safe money.
I can't tell you, Patrick, how he said this week, I wonder if Patrick's going to bring more tickets in, and he never told me. He never told me.
I
He
can't
never
believe that his
cashed it.
desk is so cluttered that it can be lost for an entire year.
And found.
And found.
And then
You
found.
think this big
Is that
league
big
chew is
league
good
chew?
to eat?
I think after 120 days, that's still good. I think literally you need to keep that there just in case we are
The
quarantined in here.
expiration date is February 2020.
Oh, well, you're fine then. Great. I'd eat all of that today.
Wow.
Oh, man. I needed that laugh.
Wow.
All right. So go ahead, please.
All right, I'll go sign.
Go sign
All
it.
right.
There you go. Automatically, that becomes more valuable than the $0 it's worth. We're back with more in a second. That's funny. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Man, I needed that laugh that we just had during our youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. If you stream us live every day between 12 and 3, you see what we're doing during commercial breaks. Chris Brockman, who spent the final moments. Whenever I'm talking to a guest, I'm looking over to Chris just because, I like involving people. I always want you involved in our conversations. Even way back to our podcast days, I always wanted that, right? Man. But as I'm talking, I'm seeing peripherally. You're just moving around. You're looking under your desk. You're picking up bags and thumbing through
like notebooks, and
paperbacks and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's looking for that ticket that Patrick Fabian brought 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was worth $45 if you could find it because you thought you could pretty much. Any winning ticket is good forever.
Yeah, I thought they just honored him no matter what. A win is a win.
Unless you find the ticket more than 120 days after the sporting event in which it should be cashed.
Yeah.
So you finally did find the ticket.
I found the ticket. I have a bag here of old stuff after I cleaned everything out a while ago. And buried at the bottom was an envelope that Patrick Fabian had brought in before the 2018 NFL season.
Yes.
Found my Patriots winning ticket, 7-1, to win the Super Bowl in 2018.
Okay, so it was worth $35.
It was worth 40 total.
40
yeah,
total.
40 total.
Ballin'!
Except for the fact there's an expiration date.
Yeah, fine print on the back here.
4 months later.
Yeah, he got this at the Bellagio. 120 days after the event ends, your ticket becomes void.
Do you send it in and just hope that they don't notice it's from Super Bowl 2 years ago?
Yes, but I had Patrick sign it, so I'm just going to keep it.
It's now a keepsake here. The NFL has canceled its owners' meeting, so they're not having it. Meeting's been canceled. That makes sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I imagine the votes can be all held. Everybody get together in your offices and
that can all be done
FaceTime, Skype. Is it one of those things where the commissioner's like, okay, Robert, hold on a second. I'm gonna try and hit that plus button on my cell phone, and we'll see if Jerry's there. Jerry, you there? Yeah. Robert, you there? Okay. Now,
who's the oldest owner that we have? Who's explaining to Dan Rooney how to use FaceTime?
Right. Now, I have a feeling they're going to be able to just hook it all up.
Yeah.
We can do it. Yeah. This can be done. The NBA, according to our buddy Bruce Arthur, up in Toronto. One of the best scribes that Canada has on its internets and also in print. Bruce Arthur, who's locked in with the Raptors, says the NBA has told its teams the league will be suspended for 30 days minimum. 30 days minimum. Adam Schefter with an interesting tweet that Kansas is just suspending its program. They're not pulling out of the tournament. I guess I don't know what that means. That means,
but if you're suspending all athletics, that includes men's basketball.
Schefter saying update: KU not pulling itself out. It has suspended its sports program, but it's not out of the tourney. So I don't know what that means. And
why has the tournament not been canceled yet?
They'll get there. Everybody's getting there. It'll take time. At least just do us a favor and do it before a first 4 game is played or somebody gets on a plane to try and go. Let's do that as opposed to the Big East.
That's next Tuesday.
As opposed to the Big East, which decided to cancel the rest of its tournament at halftime of Creighton St. John's and let them finish up.
First 4 games are next Tuesday and Wednesday. Just FYI. One bummer about the NFL meeting being canceled, Rich. No man spread centerpiece this year.
I guess so. There'll be no
coaches photo.
I know, right?
Yeah, no coaches
we'll have to come up with a different way of doing it. I want to finish up with this, okay? Just again, a message for everybody. Let's pull together. Let's hang together. But we need testing. We need it. My buddy Jake Tapper retweeted a tweet from a staff writer at Bleacher Report, David Gardner, tweeting out, the Jazz announced that they administered 58 coronavirus tests on players, personnel, and that Donovan Mitchell was the only positive test. Great to hear it. Thrilled to hear it. If only the rest of us would be able to have that peace of mind and knowledge and power to go about our business and not be panicked and understand that if we are just vigilant doing X, Y, and Z, and then A, B, and C needs to be followed after that, that we can just be vigilant and also calm and resolute. If only we had that ability, because as Jake points out, this week CNN has reported on first responders in Kirkland, Washington, whose swabs were not tested quickly enough before they spoiled, symptomatic Washington nursing home employees who had not yet been tested, and symptomatic individuals in New Rochelle, New York, unable to get swabbed. How the hell did the Utah Jazz get all 58 of their employees tested and swabbed and reported back yay or nay within less than 24 hours? Helps to be the Utah Jazz. If only the rest of us can be treated like the Utah Jazz. That is my wish. And we've got to get it, and we've got to get it soon, and we've got to get it fast, because this sort of stuff is what drives people crazy. And we've got to be calm as a collective. And we've got to be there as a collective and empathetic, not jealous, not feeling less than. The faster we get there, the quicker we can all get through this nightmare together, unified, and on the other side, healthy, and back to normal again. I want to thank today's guests, Patrick Fabian, Jason Canfora, and Howard Beck. I wish I could tell you what's going on tomorrow's show, but after the last 24 hours, I have no earthly idea. Other than the fact that if we're feeling healthy and well, and everybody else is healthy and well in our lives, we'll be back here on our Friday edition of the Rich Eisen Show on this radio station and youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Everybody stay vigilant, wash your hands, and we'll see you Friday.